Defensive magic is an elemental skill they drill into kids from day one. Once you've got magic in your blood, that's what you learn to protect yourself. As kids grow up, they suddenly awaken the power of water, fire, wind, and earth. The real kicker, our protagonist is still just a kid, and all he can do is defensive magic with no specific attribute at all. So the other kids start lobbing brutal comments at him, but he refuses to break. He keeps charging forward with pure determination, promising that one day he'll seize control of the world, armed with nothing but his unstoppable defensive magic. 7 long years flew by, and a girl in a skirt had finally stepped into the world. She orders those bullies to hunt down a boy named Reese. Again, late as ever, and right as that happens, her skirt lifts just slightly. Reese is late again, and irritation is already burning on her face. Right then, one of the bullies gets rocked when a rock comes flying from the rooftop. With a sneer on his face, the boy asks, "Are you even looking for someone?" Reese soaks it all in, taunts them for daring to lift the girl's skirt, then grins, shouts his goodbye, and keeps sprinting across the rooftops. As he sprints, panic hits him. He's still being chased. One of the bullies snaps into action, smashing right into a fruit cart in seconds. They scramble up to the rooftop, but the hero is already gone, so the bullies get hurled straight into the river. Later on, they're staring around like, where did the runway disappear to? And they decide to stop a girl along the road and ask her. Reese's sister blushes hard, asking if her brother did something wrong, and just as she blurts it out, one of the bullies lunges in to grab her. Just when everything goes too far, the hero bursts in with his magic shield raised, shouting that they'd better not touch his sister. The group leader barks orders to seize the boy right now. With a smug grin, one of the bullies sneers, "You swung first." So the boy can't even complain about what happens next, and he's quick to hammer home that Reese is just an ordinary kid with zero special powers. Reese doesn't blink. He tells those bullies to bring everything they've got because he's not backing down. The 3 pursuers stumble and topple to the ground on their own. Alfie, the student council president, was the one who pulled it off. One of the bullies scrambles to justify himself, claiming he was just defending the girl. Then Alfie shuts it down and says he'll handle it because Reese is his childhood friend. Rattled and seething, one bully blurts that they should at least punch the president, just once. But Alfie slams his magic down and blasts a wall of fire between them, cutting off any chance of getting close. Alfie snaps at them to back off, then blasts them with water to knock the heat right out of their heads. Meet Alfie Lightheart, the hero of the future, who smashes every limit in his way. The bullies huddle up and start snapping at each other over what they're supposed to do next. With a hard stare, Alfie grits out that he can't keep his fire magic bottled up much longer. Suddenly, the girl behind all of it shows up and demands, "Why are you taking so long?" But the moment she spots Alfie, her tough act crumbles and she turns painfully shy. With a soft look, she asks the bullies if they've done anything wrong and ushers the boy to her family's next banquet. Then, right at that moment, she spots Reese. And the comments kept piling up. People were begging Alfie to pick his friends more carefully because in their eyes he's just a commoner. With sheer overwhelming force, Alfie snaps back that she doesn't get to choose his friends, then barks an order for her to get out of his way. And she bolts off into the distance, sobbing her heart out. The bully leader sneers at the boy, demanding he feel ashamed for always getting Alfie's protection, while Reese just smirks, telling him Alfie isn't shielding him at all. Alfie's protecting the bullies and they're lucky they never had to face him. Relieved, the president blurts that the group finally pulled out, and his friend shoots back a grateful thank you. Arms crossed, the hero quipped that he was just helping the kids rehearse magic, until one of them turned around and mocked him. Right then, he puts his teasing and skirt flipping skills on full display, and Alfie's irritation just sparks out. Smiling through it all, the president demands to know why he's stuck cleaning up every mess that Resh makes, again and again, every single day. Suddenly, a stranger rolls up and says he caught him watching the earlier fight. It's a man who clocks Alfie instantly and blurts out that he's the user of the 4 attributes. As the two lock in their conversation, the girl can't help but stare. Alfie is genuinely impressive because he's always surrounded by people dressed in fancy clothes. In this world, most mages can only bend one single magic attribute, so someone like Alfie who masters them all is outrageously rare. Reese couldn't stand the jealousy bubbling up as he snapped that on top of it all, his friend was still stealing attention from girls just by showing his face. Her sister won't shut up about how amazing Alfie is, and right in the middle of it, Reese snaps at her to change the subject. With a steady, serious stare, she tells Alfie that he's nothing like ordinary men. Frustrated and fed up, she snaps at Reese to start taking things way more seriously. She then leans in and asks, "So were you really in the forest of Hades that day?" Nervous, the girl blurts out that the teacher always warned her, the forest is packed with demonic beasts. To calm her down, Reese leans in and tells her the truth, he only steps into the safe parts of the forest. Switching gears, he points out a mushroom right at the forest entrance, one of those rare treasures he swears can be sold for a fortune to the nobles. Suddenly, his sister snaps her teeth down and bites her brother hard. Sometime later, Alfie blurts out that the capital is dispatching scouts straight to their village. Alfie's little sister is in the kitchen right now, and she declares, "I'll brew a cup of tea for the president," like it's already done. While they sit there, Alfie leans in and tells Reese the genius school of magic is hunting down the best minds in the whole country. He straight up tells you the truth, only the most gifted mages can even dream of getting into that school. And that's where the greatest magic masters were born. Reese tries to dodge the topic, blurts that he doesn't care, and tells his friend he can study wherever he wants. Then Alfie presses him, asking if Reese isn't even feeling frustrated about it. With a weird look on his face, the protagonist snaps back that there's no way he could get admitted, he's just a commoner fighting people who are actually gifted. He ends it by admitting with zero pride that he's got no talent at all, and that's exactly what everyone thinks of him. As Alfie strides away, he blurts out that the school sits in the capital, and the test won't hit for a month, so he's bailing next week. A little hurt, Alfie mutters that it can't be that important if Reese doesn't even bother to see him off. Reese nods like it's final, then leans in and says goodbye. With a fierce, unshakable determination in his eyes, Reese's mind suddenly races into the genius school of magic. He erupts in laughter, convinced he's just cooked up the funniest idea in the world. Hanging out by the carriage, Wells corners the president and asks, "You ready to roll?" Every time he gets asked, he just answers, "Yes." All feet replies that he is. Meanwhile, Reese slips back into the forest, convinced Alfie has already vanished. As Reese steps into the forest's deadliest stretch, he grimaces and snaps that he hates what's inside. Meanwhile, Alfie rides in the carriage right alongside Wellius. Wells grins and leans in, asking if Alfie's hurting about having to leave his hometown. "I'll start hurling questions at them, because I bet this town has someone he's never been able to beat." Yeah, he looks totally baffled, bursts into laughter and blurts out that he finally gets what Alfie's saying. With that eerie, mysterious grin, Wells leans in and asks the boy if he's talking about the girl he fell head over heels for. In Alfie's head, the past won't let him breathe, he can still see every time Reese crushed him since they were kids. Meanwhile, Reese barrels through the forest, sprinting like the trees are chasing her. Out of nowhere, a massive bear lunges in from behind him, roaring and ready to tear into him. Reese refuses to flinch, he whips his gaze back and pure rage burns through his eyes. Meanwhile, Alfie warns, if someone reincarnates with weak bargain basement powers, they'll never rise to become a supreme warrior, especially not with that person standing right there. After that, Wellies is even more lost, but Alfie cuts him off, forget it. Leaning over the carriage window, Alfie suddenly remembers he never did crack those 6 secrets. But he realizes it doesn't matter anymore, because now he's set on mastering strength at school and finally beating Reese for good. Meanwhile, Reese strides through the village, heading straight for a towering massive tree. He raps on the door, shouting for his grandmother, telling her he's there to play with her. Pissed off, he starts smashing the door with punches and kicks. But then crickets, nothing happens at all. With a sneer, he calls out for his master, Ba, asking if she really shouldn't stop greeting everyone like that. Then his master finally shows up and flat out says that's one of the rare little joys in her life, then drops the truth. If Reese doesn't like it, he can just stop coming. Ba slams Reese with a brutal kick to the head and roars that she's way too immature, while Reese fires back, saying anyone would lose their nerve if she showed up like that in public. Blushing hard, Ba asks Reese if he's really into her looks and he shuts her down saying he's after a different kind of body. So Ba snaps that he's just annoying for barging in on her bath and Reese tells her to use magic to wash up. In under a second, Ba bursts in already fully dressed, then shoots Reese a question, why is he here and what does he want? With a fearless grin, the boy says it's time for a change, and that sparks the old woman's curiosity. Reese thrusts his shield toward the sky and declares it's time to flip the world's view of defensive magic. The moment Alfie was finally old enough to actually remember his past, it hit him like a lightning bolt, he was a reincarnation. In his old life, he was just a regular guy on Earth, spending his spare time glued to his phone, binging light novels like it was his lifeline. Since he'd already wrapped his head around reincarnation, the boy took one look at this world of magic and just rolled with it. During his initiation, they slammed one shocking truth into him. He had an affinity for all four elements, something nobody in history had ever done. Right then, he knew this was the start of his story, the moment he'd rise and become the ultimate warrior in this world. But nope, someone far stronger than him was living right in that same village. Reese was the name of the toughest guy alive, and if Alfie really wanted to beat him, he couldn't just keep sheltering in the village, because that's not how you win. Alfie tells himself, "I'm done falling behind, I'm going to beat my friend from here on out." While several lumberjacks sweat through the trees, they suddenly call it a day and take a break. They crane their necks toward the sky, and that's when something totally strange starts to appear. The hero soars through the clouds with his master, and his master grins, saying, "With this magical tool we can blaze through the sky even faster now." Irritated, the boy grumbles that the luggage he's hauling feels a bit heavy, and the old woman snaps back that he should be grateful for it. Even more furious, the apprentice snaps at her to shut up, then spits that she's nothing but a lowly witch. Lovis says it normally takes a full week to get there, but his master grins and insists that at this pace, they'll be at their destination by noon. Still a little shaken, the woman presses the teenager, "Are you sure that was the right way to say goodbye to your family in the city?" And with that, it all crashes back. He vividly remembers how that farewell went down. The kid just blurted out that he was headed for the capital to study, moving there for good, without planning to come back anytime soon. Out of nowhere, this news hits. His parents and sister freeze in shock. After spilling the news, the boy slams the door shut and doesn't even spare a glance at anyone's reaction. His sister panics and bolts for the door, then swings it open and finds out he's already vanished. Rage burns in her chest as she snaps that he's insanely selfish, and warns that next time they cross paths, she'll make him pay. After everything he's been through, the hero just shrugs and says, "Next time I head home, I'm bringing a truckload of sweets from the royal capital." Just as he got lost daydreaming about those silly things, his master bluntly told him they were already blasting toward their destination. Then the girl snaps an order. He lands straight inside the capital. The moment Lovis steps inside, she's hit with total shock. Those streets are unbelievably wide. And the whole crowd kept buzzing with conversation. They finally storm into the legendary magic school, the kind everyone dreams about. Reese scans the place and boasts that they've got magical security too, but the witch shoots back that it's just another shining example of authoritarian control. Real chaos, the finances, straight up the hardest part to crack. But it was already settled because the hero hauled in every demonite he'd hunted and sold the lot to the Hunters Guild. But the second he really thinks it through, he realizes he messed up. He shouldn't have handed over all 3 bears in one go. The witch snaps that nobody can track a demonic beast solo, then wastes no time. She leans in and demands to know if he even knows how to get into this place. The protagonist shoots back that Granny already knows his dream, because he told her all the way back. As soon as he activates his skill, he declares he'll make the entire world witness what was once called the curse of defensive magic, and unveil the real, terrifying power behind it. With grit blazing in his eyes, he swears he'll storm the school, rumble with the principal, and beat everyone up, and then the old woman explodes into laughter. She drives a punch into her apprentice's stomach and snarls that he's an idiot. She tells him straight up, if he tries something like that, he's getting caught, no escape. She sighs and snaps, "Look, he's still too green. No matter how strong he is, he won't beat that guy in a straight one-on-one." She leans in and tells him straight to his face, "I know who you are." Because she used to roam all over the place, and she definitely didn't spend her whole life just fading into some random old lady. Right then, the girl flashes back. She met him in the forest of Hades when she saved his life. That witch, an ancient great sage who's been living in the forest for a century, watched Reese obsess over defensive magic, and when she saw how determined he was, she decided to bring him under her wing. She put him through brutal training, and now, today, she's finally passed every single thing she knows, just like a true sage. Right in the present, the old lady shoves a letter into his hands and snaps at the boy to stop floating in the clouds. She tells him, "It's my letter, make sure you hand it straight to the headmaster." Arms crossed tight, her master snaps that she finally arrived in the capital to taste sweets for the very first time in almost 100 years. Then she breaks into a joyful sprint, waving as she shouts her goodbye. Inside the magic school, where spells crackle and secrets wait to explode. Lovis' nerves explode when he remembers how easily they marched him straight to the headmaster's office. Right then, a girl strides in and introduces herself, Dist Huberg, the headmaster of the Genius School of Magic. As he devours the guest meal, the hero lights up, calls it insanely delicious, and asks if he can pack the rest to take home. With a sly edge of curiosity, the headmaster admits he read the letter from the kid's old master, and then he leans in, asking if the kid is actually her student. He points out that the letter's a total mess and that mess can only mean one thing: it had to come from that woman. The rookie can barely contain his excitement and blurts, "So I'm enrolled?" But the headmaster just smirks and says he'll explain everything. Right after that, the main character cracks his back and stretches, seconds away from stepping into the entrance exam. Right then, the entrance exam examiner storms onto the scene. He claims he can size up a person's talent just by experience, then snaps that the boy's magic power is way below average. Curious, the headmaster zeroes in on the boy and asks what he's up to, and the boy shrugs, saying he's just stretching a little. The headmaster is left scratching his head until the examiner tells him it's a weird drill he once saw soldiers run at the barracks. Stunned, the headmaster can't stop wondering if a mage had to pull off something like that before battle. Then it hits him fast. The old master used to do the exact same thing before every simulated fight. With that in mind, Dis's whole perspective flips and he storms to Zeslike, "Add it to our school's practical class plan too." At that exact moment, a woman with glasses stormed in, sneered that he was a mere commoner, and snapped, "How long are you going to keep me waiting?" Without a single fuss, he straightens up, apologizes, and says, "I'm ready now." The woman who's about to clash with the protagonist is named Huria, and she snaps that if he wants to avoid disqualification, the boy better go all out and fight like his life depends on it. Watching closely, Zest is the one who's going to judge how well the rookie really performs. Right then, the headmaster snaps that the exam is starting now. The professor snaps that she'll follow the headmaster's order, then immediately scoffs, refusing to believe someone as low as a commoner like him even made it onto the school grounds. She doesn't pause for a second. She blasts a fire spell at him and tells him in no uncertain terms to know his place. Seeing that, the headmaster snaps that this professor is downright merciless. With his magic shield up, the boy blocks every attack with terrifying ease. The woman takes one look at it and blurts out that it's downright impressive. He managed to block it. But she dares him to stop underestimating the school, because this talent runs in the blood of families who have honed their gifts for generations, and she's sure a commoner has no right to get in. Irritation flashes across his face, so he snaps at her to stop, and then he ends the match in a blink. Right then, the professor rips out her flame attack once more. After stalling it again, the rookie can't help but think, "Whoa, my casting speed is way faster than I expected." Shocked, the woman blurts out, "So you're only allowed to use defensive magic, right? Because you're reaching for that shield again." Then the professor tells him he should be proud, because from this point on, she's finally going to take him seriously. Shocked, one of the teachers snaps at the headmaster to stop right now. She's about to unleash a massive fireball. He praises the boy's shield as truly impressive, then warns that defensive magic burns through power like crazy. Still, the headmaster steps in and promises, "If it comes to it, I'll heal him." Meanwhile, the professor channels everything into a massive fire element attack. Fired a colossal, blazing fireball straight at the hero. Reese whips up his shield again, wondering if this whole thing is supposed to be some kind of simulated fight. Then crash! The impact slams hard enough to erupt into a massive explosion, and it blows everyone away. With barely any struggle, the boy just shrugs and claims he somehow stood his ground against that attack. Stunned, the woman blurts out that the boy is incredible, and she can't believe she's never even heard of a magic shield strong enough to protect someone from power like that. Then the headmaster snaps that using defensive magic to shut down attacks like that is ridiculous, and his eyes narrow as he can't decide if he should even trust that the boy truly only knows this kind of spell. Right then, he snatches the note from his master. Lovis is only allowed non-elemental defensive magic, and the warning is clear. If they underestimate him, they're the ones who'll end up getting hurt. Watching her fend off attacks like that, the woman freezes in pure disbelief. She can't believe something this good is even possible. And she scoffs, saying it's straight up ridiculous that he can keep slamming out a shield so strong it actually tanks that hit. She's so irritated she snaps that there's no way he has the magical power to pull off something like that, and she starts wondering if it's all a fraud. Then the hero insists he isn't trying to disrespect her. But this so-called genius practical exam is way easier than he ever expected, after he hears that. The woman's pride gets crushed, she snarls, then coils up for an even deadlier attack. Judging by her face, you can tell the master is pouring every ounce of power into the spell, aimed straight at the boy. Startled, she heard the teacher's comment, those magical lights weren't a warning at all, they screamed that she was truly furious. The girl keeps her eyes locked on her opponent, and then she realizes, every bit of that magic circle is shifting, piece by piece. The woman declares this is the flame lance technique, less wrecking power than the great fireball, but it pierces way deeper. One of the teachers snapped, calling the headmaster at once, because this attack was way too brutal for the boy to survive. He finally realizes it doesn't matter how skilled the headmaster is, once the body is lifeless, it's beyond saving. Right then Dist leaned in and told Zess, this kid is the great sage's beloved soul. And it shocks him hard, because she'd never once taken a student before. But he finally gets her to admit it, none of his own talent has ever even reached her standards in her eyes. Then he marches up to the teacher and begs him to act like the student isn't in danger, because he can't stop himself from watching exactly what the kid will do. Zest is hit with even more dread and straight up challenges the headmaster, demanding to know if he's really letting that student be struck down, because that's not even the only reason. Meanwhile, Reese admits he probably pushed the provocation too far, and with a steely, determined stare he says he can't possibly defend himself against all of this. He says, alright then, I'm done holding back. And he rockets forward and slams her with a brutal, earth-shaking punch, leaving both the headmaster and the teacher completely speechless. Later, right in the middle of the school's opening ceremony, new students are about to step into the spotlight. Among them is Alfie, grinning to himself like, yes, this is it. I'm finally a real, official student of this legendary academy. As he scans the room, he suddenly realizes this place has the best teachers in the whole land. Especially Wellius, he absolutely crushed him in the practical exam, and without that kind of skill, there'd be no real reason to even show up at a place like this. Soon the boy clocks it, teachers are staring at him with this weird, unsettling look, and it hits hardest on the woman the protagonist just beat. Her face hits him hard, like the moment his friend beat him, but he snaps back fast because there's no way Reese could possibly be here. Right then, the headmaster blares out the name of the student who crushed this year's entrance exam and took the top score. Beaming, the boy introduces himself as Reese Lovis, and then he drops his bombshell. He's going to become the strongest in the school, and with defensive magic, he's set on taking over the world. The moment he clocks who it is, his friend freezes in shock, then can't stop asking, why is he even here? Later on, Alfie traps the hero up against the wall and demands answers, right there and then. Fuming, he snapped, how the hell did you even get admitted to this school? In another place, the boy blurts out the entire story about his friend, start to finish fast. And as Lightheart clings to every word his friend said, doubt starts to claw at him, because now he's left wondering who's actually got the real trick up their sleeve. Switching gears, he leans in and asks if his friend was really serious about that ridiculous speech at the ceremony, only for Lovis to snap right back that he was. Thinking it through, Alfie realizes Reese didn't just want to win. If he's truly chasing the title of strongest in the whole school, he went and turned most of the freshmen into his enemies that very day. Right then, he bursts into laughter, and the prodigy snaps that his laugh is downright irritating. With his face twisting into a whole new expression, he demands, did Reese really forget that he counts as an enemy now too? With a fearless grin, the protagonist declares there's no way he'll ever forget his friend. As Alfie turns away, he lays it out. He won't stay just a friend to that boy anymore, because once he eclipses Cadine, Reese is next in his sights. Reese seems clueless about who she is, so Alfie steps in and tells her she's the girl who beat him by one step in the admissions race. At that exact moment, Cadena saunters down the school hallways, and the girls around her can't stop whispering about how drop-dead gorgeous she is. Among her whole family, she's the rare standout, packed with talent, overflowing with potential, and she fully believes she's the cream of the crop. As she strides down the corridors, a familiar thought hits her hard. This could only mean she'll stay on top, just like she's been since elementary school. And that's how it's supposed to go. She keeps pushing through her education, and everything falls into place just like it should. Still, she can't stand the rookie being there. It drives her up the wall and leaves her furious. A little later at the training campus, one of the teachers steps forward, introduces himself, and declares that from this moment on, he'll be in charge of the noble class. Right then, the hero spots Professor Zest from the exam and his world clicks into place. As Katna digs into who was truly meant to rule the noble class, the answers don't come easily. Zest fires back that it should have been Miss Huria, then he eyes the protagonist and tells him to figure it out himself. Everyone instantly gets it. Right then and there, the professor's point clicks into place. Still in shock, she blurts out, "What did that guy do to the professor?" Then Zest whips out this wild, mysterious orb that makes you feel like something bigger is about to explode, and declares they have to test every single person's magical power before they even kick things off. He tells them, "Press your hand to the crystal," and it lights up. How bright it glows shows exactly how much magic power each person has. Studying her report, he blurted that her attribute is water and her magic power is strong. Then he leaned in and explained the twist. The internal source feeds her power, but its opposite is the external source floating in the air, waiting to be absorbed. Then he leans in and tells them, if the external source is out there, we can swallow it and absorb it through a knack called magical power generation. The man awkwardly blurts an apology, admits he got sidetracked for a second, and tells them to jump back in and finish the measurements. A student named Barca blurts it out. That's the power the second son from the new, prestigious, and totally aimless family brings to the table. And she's got a whole magical power like that too. Then the professor leans in and declares she's from the Alfrey family, and right on the spot, she unleashes wild wind magic that proves she's got serious power. Down in the dumps, Alfie suddenly shows up and begs to borrow the orb. The moment he sets his hands on the magical object, a blinding burst of radiant light erupts into the air. His friend blurts, "Are you really trying to become the sun?" But the professor just stares, speechless, because this is the first time he's ever seen something like it. Reese smirks with total confidence and pushes, "Let me go next." The moment he grips the magical object, it barely lets out any light at all. Seeing all of it, the other students froze in shock, and the professor snapped, asking if this was some kind of joke. In his head, he knew the kid didn't look like he had real talent, but somehow he still beat Huria. A little earlier, the headmaster leaned in and told the man, "I want to entrust the noble class to you." With the professor's condition like that, he worried she just wouldn't be able to take it. He even told the guy to judge the rookie on his own, separately. With a sadistic grin, he leaned in and promised he couldn't wait to hear what I had to say on the matter. Zest then starts to worry, what if that boy's gift never gets recognized and turns out to be nothing but a talentless nuisance? If that's how it plays out, the school's reputation would get crushed overnight, and Zest can't stand the thought of their top student falling flat. Right then, one of the noble students barges into the conversation. He's like, "I knew it was shady the moment that complete nobody, so useless and with nothing to their name, somehow snatched first place." Seeing this, everyone starts asking the same wild question, can someone with 0 attributes really do anything at all? Hearing all that, even Alfie starts to feel a little uneasy, because it's his friend they're talking about. The noble brat keeps sneering at the hero like a nobody and snarls, "Why don't you grab your things and quit school already?" But the hero just draws something magical right up to that spoiled punk and shuts him up. And just when everyone thought it was over, reality flipped on its head, surprise. Light blasted out in overwhelming waves. Reese taunts the guy, asking if this is exactly what the bully was hunting for. Scared out of his mind, the professor can't stop asking what love even did to him, because messing with magical power is something everyone insists is flat-out impossible. Meanwhile, the boy's master is in a pastry shop, tearing into treats like nothing else matters, devouring a mountain of sweets, one bite after another. Right then, the headmaster suddenly shows up, snapping the question, "Need a hand finishing it?" But the master shuts that down cold and snaps that she's got nothing to give him. Dis admits it's been ages since they shared tea, and she shoots back that he can wait another 10 or 20 years. With his gaze locked to the ground, he mutters that she hasn't changed a bit. Meanwhile, the noble girl unleashes her windthorn attack. Zest can't help but gush, saying it's just as strong as a professor's. Then she laughs that all she has left to fix is shaving down her projection time. He explains that this colossal target is built for wild power like that, and that most professors can't even smash it. As class rolls on, the professor snaps, "Get on the marked line and unleash your strongest magic at that target." The man calls out, "Who wants to go next?" And the boy pushes forward, saying the class's top girl should show off her skills first. He shoots his friend a "Doesn't she hate me?" question, and Alfie snaps back that he should just wrap this up already. With nerves scraping his chest, the teacher can't stop thinking the master's pupil is up to something. Right back into the talk between old friends, the master leaned in and demanded, how did the headmaster know she'd made it to the capital? The headmaster shoots back that the gatekeepers still remember the woman who stood beside the hero. Tilting her head, she asks the school's director whether he actually liked the boy she's talking about. Right then, it hits him. He remembers that wild, jaw-dropping fight the boy fought against the professor. Fight so brutal it could shake the heavens. Ended up going so far that the professor nearly got killed. With a half-mad grin, he claims the boy's hilarious, then insists you can't make sense of any of it, because this isn't something a normal magician's common sense can explain. Meanwhile, the boy focuses his power to reflect and cast exactly what he needs. Stunned, he realizes this spell guzzles the most magical power of any defensive move out there. Right before Reese lunges, memories hit hard, how everyone used to sneer at defensive magic, calling it worthless and trashing it like it deserved to die. Lawson tells himself that to smash that whole way of thinking, he's got to change his path, so he decides to enroll in this school. Right then he makes up his mind, he's going all in. He unleashed an insanely powerful spell that left everyone staring in pure awe. The professor's eyes widen. Light magic isn't just power, it's the most packed magic energy there is, and that kid has been clenching it in his bare hands the whole time. Staring at the wreckage of the target, Zest finally gets it. The great sage can see the real essence of talent. Meanwhile, the great sage turns out she's a witch, declares she won't say a word about her beloved student. The headmaster's left totally baffled, but the woman just smiles and reassures him she has nothing to worry about. With a suspicious stare, she snaps that chasing knowledge has no late-night loopholes, and that this month isn't some kind of magic. Still, the headmaster snaps into a heartfelt apology for his immaturity, and the woman fires back that both he and the general school of magic should be thrilled about what just happened. Then she declares that everyone will get to see the brilliance of her beloved student for themselves. After that, the hero gets thrown into a roaring arena, and the battle is about to go down. He glances around and blurts, "Wait, this is seriously exciting." Then his opponent steps up and says, "I'm the eldest son of the honored House of Nork, and in the name of Lottos, I'm going to crush you." Then he snaps, telling Reese to get ready, because something big is coming. A few days before all this goes down, Reese sits in the school cafeteria and stares at the food like it's straight-up royalty, because the spread is way fancier than anything he expected. As he bites into his food, he blurts out that this place is pure paradise. His friend shoots him a question, where did he even get the money for admission? Because everyone knows Reese's family is barely making ends meet. Lovis tells him he makes his money by selling the beast he hunts to the Hunters Guild, and then his friend spots something weird out of nowhere. He snaps into action and launches a wind wall in an instant. After that, he stays cool while the boy spills the truth, said it was a wild demon bear. Then Alfie leans in and asks, "So is that demonic beast crazy dangerous out there in the forest?" Like it was nothing, the hero just blurts yes, and casually admits he's got 3 of those beasts. His friend snaps that the guild's broke and can't afford it, then blurts, "So you must have dragged the money all the way to the capital, how'd you pull that off?" Then the protagonist yanks his amulet free and shows it off, dangling right at his chest. Prodigy blinks in shock and blurts out that this magic tool is insanely rare. Turns out the boy's master handed it to him as a farewell gift, and as she did, she told him, "Use this so you won't have to lug your luggage around." Reese then leans in and tells his friend that this gives him a massive storage space. Alfie's jaw drops and he blurts, "Wait, you really shoved 3 demon bears into that amulet?" As the boy flips to a new question about that annoying noise, his friend admits he shut it down with a wind barrier, only for it to turn out that it's just more fallout from his old mistakes. Either way, we're done right now, because if we don't stop, the cafeteria is about to get wrecked. So the protagonist blurts, "Should we run now?" But his friend shuts him down, too late, the moment's already gone. So right then, a staff member steps in and marches both students straight to Professor Zess's office. In the end, there were just 3 students total, Lovis included, along with his childhood friend. Zest pressed for answers and both of them blurted that they were just victims, while pointing the finger at the blue-haired guy standing right next to them. With a stammer, the third boy finally blurts out his name, Lottos Ganork, proud eldest son of the honored Ganork family. It's a legendary mage clan, prestige dripping from their blood, masters of the water attribute. Then the teacher pieces it all together, sure he finally knows how this went down, based on what he's heard from the other students. He gets word that right around lunchtime, one of Genork's followers tried to jump the line at the cafeteria. Reese pushes him back, yelling that he belongs there, then slams him as trash. The spoiled brat smirks and asks if the boy knows who he is, then the boy bolts forward, snaps that he just wanted to grab something to eat until he got royally pissed off. Noble pride surged in him and he refused to back down. So when that wall of wind slammed into him, fury detonated, and he blasted out an absolutely ridiculous amount of magic. Zes gets it. This school plays by one rule: everyone gets treated equally. So Ganuark is the one who messed up, and that means he's forced to punish both kids because Lovis slipped too, making the whole thing finally fair. But this time, the professor changes course. He's decided to use the opening and strike while the moment's ripe. With a fake smile plastered on, he shrugs and says it's impossible to pin the blame, because at least one of them has to be punished. With a sarcastic smirk, he leaned in and asked if either of them had any ideas on how to decide who'd get punished. Right then, the noble boy snaps that he's challenging the kid to a duel, once and for all, no more games. With his heart racing, the protagonist grabs the challenge and says, "Let's go." So yeah, Reese Lovis, he's saying it like a promise, ready to go. Students are banned from throwing down in personal magic duels. Alfie warns that not everyone can deal with it, and he insists a student-teacher agreement must be in place for any supervision. He also claims everyone's thrilled to watch his friend get hurt, just because of what he said at the opening ceremony. With a stern stare, he shuts down the rival's disrespect and tells the brat point-blank that his friend is the best in the whole school. Still, the rich kid smirks. He swears he'll crush him, steal the promotion, and climb straight into the noble class. He struts in with crushing confidence, jabs a finger at the hero, and demands to know how someone who only masters defensive magic still pulled off a perfect score on the practical exam. Right back in the present, the prodigy leans in and tells his friend, "I'm gonna be the commentator for our duel." He tells them that this job usually lands on a teacher, but because Lovis's magic is so rare, this time it's an exception. Clenching his fists, the protagonist fires back that one of his goals is to make everyone finally recognize his defensive magic. Later, right on the duel day, a woman storms into the crowd and blares that the match is about to kick off. With a cold, hard stare, the rich boy declares that everyone is about to watch the rookie get humiliated. Then she blazes the news. The commentator for this match is none other than Reese's best friend, Alfie Lightheart. While they're trading words, the woman leans in and demands to know if he even understands why they're fighting this duel. Then he blurts out that the blue-haired one invited him, and the boy jumped at the chance and accepted. Hearing that, the woman snaps into liking him on the spot, and she blurts that they should start as friends, driving the hero absolutely insane while he has to listen to every word. Suddenly, a containment zone snaps into life around the duel stage. The headmaster steps up and tells him it's called the Dream Realm, then explains how it twists real events into something that feels like a dream. In the back, the blue-haired student blurts out that out here, it doesn't matter what kind of injury the opponent gets. Even if that hit would have killed him, the moment the realm shuts down or the kid steps out of the arena, he snaps back to normal. Thrilled out of his mind, the announcer screams that this year's supervisor is the school's headmaster himself. No more zest. Even with all his mage skills, the professor still mutters that he'd have loved to keep a close eye on the match. Meanwhile, Cadna snaps her focus onto the duel as the headmaster declares the rule: one fighter must surrender, or the other gets wiped out so the winner can claim the round. And he flat out warns that firing the total pressure cannon is off limits, because the Dream Realm hits with the exact same strength as the target barrier. After that warning, Dist grins and declares that the duel can finally kick off. Hearing that, the noble son tightens his grip and braces to unleash his water attack. But Reese slams his shield up in time and blocks it. The announcer leans in, amazed and shouting that Lotto's magic blast got fully blocked, and it's wild because that's defensive magic, not some heavy offense. The crowd starts whispering in shock, who gave that defensive magic user the nerve to enroll in their school in the first place? At that exact moment, Alfie finally clicks. People despise defensive magic not because it's useless, but because it burns through magical power way too fast. Because attribute-based magic is all about pouring your magical power into the right release. Defensive magic tries to toughen magical power into a wall, but it burns through energy so fast it's basically a terrible waste. For attribute magic, you only need a magical power of about 1, but for defensive magic it shoots up to roughly 3 or 4. Defensive magic turns out to be way simpler, which is why it's the perfect kind of magic for kids to learn self-defense. With his mind spiraling, the narrator suddenly shouts, calling out to her commentator like, "Hey, wait." Nervous Alfie blurts that common sense won't work on his friend, so he tells her to just sit back and watch so it'll finally click. While the blue-haired boy keeps unleashing hit after hit, Reese fights back hard and holds his ground. Pushing himself to the limit, he hurls a water grenade, bam, massive explosion, then a violent downpour crashes down. When the smoke finally thins, he stares in shock. His attack didn't even scratch the hero's shield. The crowd erupts the moment they see it, and even the narrator blurts out that she's never seen a shield stop a blow that strong. Curious as a cat, she quizzes Alfie, does Lovis pack serious magical power, and his friend shuts her down fast. Meanwhile, the headmaster leans in and says he's dug into this topic for ages, because the real secret has to be hiding in the structure. Lightheart leans in and tells them it's a special formation, the honeycomb structure, which can soak up shocks coming from just one direction. He keeps going, saying the barrier panels click together into hexagonal columns, and after enough reps, they lock into place and build the whole structure. It doesn't just make a shield, it forges a jaw-dropping magic fortress with 308 stacked barrier layers, packed so tightly it becomes ridiculously complex. Stunned, the woman blurts out, "Why go to all this trouble?" And the boy shoots back, because it's obvious. So the spell flips the whole thing. Now the barrier needs only 1/4 of the magical power it used to. This revelation leaves Professor Zest, every student, and even me speechless, staring in shock. Then Dis blurts that he's totally baffled. How on earth did this student pull off such a sneaky, indirect way to unleash that much magic? Alfie leans in and tells him, "You can throw that magic circle up so fast because I drilled it into you through hard training and pure effort." Everyone keeps staring in awe at the hero's insane skill, and Lightheart just says, "Yeah, that's not a good sign." Hearing that, Reese snaps, gets annoyed fast, and demands to know why his friend is acting nothing like he used to. The prodigy thinks some professors see his gift clearly while others don't, because his friend's got a seriously difficult personality. Suddenly, the blue-haired boy shouts to Lovis, admitting that the exam results didn't come as a shock at all. Then he blasts a huge flood of water and shouts that a duel isn't the same as an exam. With fire in his eyes, he declares that defensive magic can't strike back, and that means Reese will never win. At that moment, we all charged forward and hit them hard. Irritated to the core, the blue-haired student snaps that the boy can't do a thing against him. Smiling wide, the hero taunts his opponent, calling defensive magic useless. "That's stupid," he says, and then proves it. The freshman rockets forward, launching straight at his opponent, dropping him straight out of his rhythm. Defensive magic is all about launching a spell straight at your opponent and forcing them to eat the damage. So the protagonist raises his shield, muttering that defensive magic holds its ground perfectly if you swing into it. With a smug grin, he taunts his opponent and promises, "Don't be scared, I'm not going to get taken out." At that exact moment, Lovis slams a brutal punch into the spoiled boy's chest, watching his opponent twist and writhe in agony. The boy blurts out that it suddenly feels like something hard is pressing down right there. Plate slips free and drops straight from Lado's body. Then the freshman braces himself for round 2 of the strike. The blue-haired student snaps his water flow ability into motion and hurls himself back to safety. But his opponent rockets forward and slams the distance shut in the same instant. The narrator's jaw drops at the hero's ridiculous speed, then blurts, "Is this some kind of special ability?" But Alfie snaps back, "No way." Back in the arena, Reese lunges again, going for a fresh hit on his opponent. And then he goes berserk, ripping his clothes to shreds. Right then, the screen explodes with bubbles, leaving Lovis utterly embarrassed and completely lost for what just happened. Meanwhile, the witch bursts onto the top of the arena and sees her apprentice drawing every eye like he's the main event. But the moment she leans in and stares closer, she realizes something's off with the young man right now. Back to the duel, freshman blurts out, "So you're telling me this isn't a dirty trick?" Wondering if it's packing a deadly weapon. Right then, Lotto snaps to it, his opponent's paralyzed and he knows it. No hesitation, he fires up his magic attack right away. Right at the last second, the boy slips out of the way, barely. At that exact moment, the boy slaps his shield online and shouts for a pause. As the fight rages on, the narrator blurts out that it looks like the tables flipped, and that the moves are suddenly getting slower. Lotto tells his opponent, "You're not getting away," then explains he wasn't just tossing magic around at random. Love's eyes widen because he realizes he's surrounded. His opponent slams out the aqua bullet prison, trapping him in a wall of deadly water bullets. With every ounce of effort, Lotto insists the shield can't hold up when attacks come from multiple directions at once. He blasts his full attack, and right at the heart of the battlefield, boom, an explosion detonates. The narrator practically shouts that every magic Lotto's spell up to now wasn't meant to fight at all, it was meant to carve puddles around the boy. Even with the noble throwing everything he's got, Reese still holds his ground, driven by a wide limit protection variant that keeps him standing. Still grinning, the kid confesses that the attack threw him into a full-on panic, and the blue-haired menace gets visibly furious when he realizes it didn't faze him at all. At that exact moment, Alfie leans in and tells you the barrier isn't just any shield, it's built with a honeycomb structure too. Dist recalls Zest's warning, the student's total magical power is coming in under that mark. Shaking with pure excitement, the headmaster can't help but wonder, what if the hero's hiding something more? Nervous jitters swarm his chest as he wonders, what if pushing this duel any further is a terrible mistake? Stunned, Lovies realizes with horror that Lotto's has been playing the eldest son of House Janork for the whole time. Confused and stuck, he realizes there's only one move left, someone at that school has to know something about it. He snaps his gaze to Headmaster Dist, and finds him staring back with a dead, blank expression. They lock eyes, and the man quietly gestures for the boy to lift his gaze toward the sky. He follows through, and then, whoa, everything clicks because the headmaster was talking about the dream realm all along. Seeing all this, the prodigy can't help but stare in confusion, because his friend is acting downright weird. Smiling Dist clocks the truth in an instant. When that chest plate finally popped off, the realm had already been tampered with because he's the headmaster of this school. That guy stayed years ahead of everyone else, he had a secret watch list, and he was the only one who even knew what was really going on with Ladus. So because of it all, Zest didn't hold back, he tore into him with criticism. With a terrifying glare, the headmaster roars that he'll protect his students, so they'd better fight back and prove what they've got. In the middle of the fight, Reese looks rattled because he can't stop staring at his opponent's airbags. Meanwhile, Lados starts freaking out, wondering how he's even going to get past the protagonist's massive Great Barrier. He doesn't even hesitate, he grabs the water already trapped inside the barrier and goes for it. Out of the corner of his eye, the boy realizes it, he's totally screwed. A tidal wave of water comes crashing for the hero, blasting him skyward and slamming him high over the arena. Most of us already knew, he'd bombed that exam and it crushed him. Even as exhaustion screams at him to quit, somehow he feels stronger than he ever has. Still airborne, Lobus snaps his eyes wide, another assault is charging straight at him. Zest's jaw drops when he realizes that the boy can pull off those high-level water control moves from the Ganark family. This move, it's the Dragon Wave, straight-up pure power unleashed. Nervous as hell, Lita tells him, "I'm about to toss you out of the arena." Shocked out of his mind, the announcer blurts that the rookie finally pulled his trump card, then demands straight up if the winner's already been decided. Right then, the hero finally realizes his enemy's right, he can't stay anchored in midair because the water dragon rockets forward and slams into them fast. He kicks in the reflection ability. This shocks Lattice because to her, that magic has no business working at all. And that's when the boy twists his magic into a real launch pad. Then, fueled by that burst of power, he launches straight at the ground and hits in seconds. It happened so fast that even the announcer totally lost his footing, scrambling to keep up with what just went down. Still clueless, she blurted, "Wait, are you telling me this is teleportation magic?" Meanwhile, the headmaster practically explodes with excitement. He spots that the boy used the very same move from the exam, and he even pulled it off against the professor. He used the reflection as his launch pad, then blasted his body forward like a bullet. Dist realizes this route lets him soar anywhere in the sky, and he's not forgetting how brutal that training was. With a crooked, creepy grin, the headmaster snaps that the master is insane, an absolute horror of a person. Meanwhile, she devours her food and keeps her eyes on the fight, and as she watches, she's flooded with memories of the very first time she met her student, right when he crashed into the forest. As she stares at her student, she blurts out that he's been flying off the charts since day one. Right then, the hero snaps into motion, ready to slam straight into Lotto's. Seeing that, Alfie blurts out, "There's no time to even say a word about this fight because right here is where it all ends." Even now, the water dragon hasn't vanished, and the fight still has no winner, so Reese can't hold back as he shouts that this time he'll leap in and slam down the final blow. Right in the middle of the chaos, Lattice's airbags pop back up again and Lovis gets totally flustered. Right then, the protagonist freezes solid, because he finally gets it, that water dragon isn't something he can just leap at again. With his mind reeling, he can't believe any of this is even possible. As the dragon closes in. But before the thought even finishes, he snaps his mind back, shoots a weird look, says he's sick of overthinking, then slips into cast reflection. Spotting what the rookie is about to pull, Dist snaps and yells, "You can't do that." Reese digs in with everything he's got and fires his magic cannon like a beast. He's strong enough to blast Lotto clear across the map. At that exact moment, the boy snaps to it. This is a disaster waiting to happen. If the young man goes flying, those airbags are going to get exposed to the whole world. As he slips out of the dome, the boy's clothes get patched up and sent back in perfect shape. So the blue-haired kid gets grabbed by the headmaster, right by the head. And the narrator slams the verdict down: this duel is settled. With Reese Lovis claiming the win in that match. Beaming with joy, the disc practically vibrates with excitement at the thought of a magic cannon. Watching her apprentice get cheered, the old woman grumbles that she clearly didn't train him enough, because those airbags completely pulled his focus. Right then, the narrator leaned in and told the prodigy, "I don't think you understood what just went down at the end of the duel." Alfie tries to talk his way out, but nothing sticks, right when Will shows up and demands his student's seat. The man smirks and says the next match is the prodigy's. Meanwhile, the nerdy girl seethes because the freshman isn't just claiming, he's actually the best student of the whole school, just like he said. Next to her stands another girl, totally starstruck, staring at the winner like she's completely lost. Cadna clocks it instantly. She just watched the boy's very first fan get born right before her eyes. In the arena, the protagonist gets slapped with cheers for his victory, and the crowd roars right after to applaud Lotto's for every ounce of effort. The narrator slams the pause button, says the arena is getting prepped right now, and then drops the bomb. Alfie's match is next up. Later on, the hero strides up to the headmaster and demands to know what's going on. He's talking about the exact kind of shock that exploded during that duel. Right then, Cadna clocks that Reese is talking face to face with the headmaster. The man straight up tells them Lotto's is already enrolled, picked to become the next head and the eldest son of the Jinork family. Confused, the freshman blurts out a question about the airbags, and the man calmly but firmly explains that they pored over the paperwork again and again and found 0 errors. The boy asks if Lotto's has any siblings, and Dist tells him he once had an older brother who died 10 years ago, and he also had a younger sister. While he thinks it through, the boy starts to wonder, does her family really force her to cosplay as the eldest son? And honestly, it grates on him. People chimed in, saying some things about that family can't be put into words, and that Reese shouldn't have to explain a thing to anybody. Lovies admits he gets that, but he can't wrap his head around why the headmaster even let the enrollment through, yet the man snaps back that he never would have shut it down. With a grin, he tells him Lotto still has real fire in his talent, too much to waste if he hadn't ended up at that school. With that even stranger grin, the man leans in and tells the hero he's got big hopes for him too, now that he's the great sage's disciple. Switching gears, the headmaster snaps that the duel arena's prep better be almost finished, so the boy blurts out his goodbye. The headmaster can't help but think, I can't wait. He knows that from this point on, Reese is going to keep cracking open his power at this school more and more every day. As the thought hits him, Dist Huberg suddenly snaps, realizing something huge. The man's mind races. If he strikes the boy right now, will the whole truth finally spill out? But he snaps out of it fast. He's the headmaster, and he can't lay a hand on a student while he's supposed to be teaching. Right then, a sweet little alter ego pops in and pokes Dist, asking if he's really nothing more than a headmaster. His other self starts whispering that he could crack the great sage's secrets if he finally gives up that one prized position. Then it pushes the man to stare at the freshman, right up close. The boy bears his defenseless back like he's daring his enemy to come get him. Buzzing with excitement, he suddenly realizes the great sage's apprentice is straight up terrifying. Right when he's about to snap and lose control, a knock crashes on the door. Stammering, the headmaster urges Lovis to let the visitor inside, even as he thinks he wouldn't really dare lay a hand on a student. The knock comes, and before anyone can even blink, a woman bursts into the room fast. The boy is totally lost at first, but he throws in the towel because he needs the conversation to finally shut down. The moment the headmaster spots who it is, his interest instantly spikes in a heartbeat. Rage hits his gut when Dist realizes she's into the young man, but he snaps back fast, saying the time for them to meet face to face still isn't here yet. The man snaps into a new tone, shifts his expression, steps forward and declares he's about to give some advice. Right then, Reese strode down the corridor, stuck in a maddening question. Did the headmaster's eyes really show zero killing intent? People think Love might be wrongfully blaming him for making the headmaster mad by using the magic cannon in the duel, but he clocks the truth fast. This isn't the real reason. After cutting down the hallways for a moment, he finally bursts into the room he'd been hunting for. This is the room where Latos is taking a breather. The girl blurts out an apology, heart heavy as it slips from her mouth, spewing how cruel fate has been to her family, leaving her crushed because she still has to step up and become the next head of the Ganowork house. The girl blurts out that she's really sorry, but the freshman waves it off fast and tells her that kind of apology won't change a thing. His mood isn't getting lifted by words. After she realizes her old opponent is right inside her room, she gets hit with full-on embarrassment. Confused, she blurts out how long she's been out cold, and the hero shoots back that it can't be long, because the duel still hasn't even kicked off. He checks Lato's condition and tells him she doesn't look hurt at all. The girl blurts out, shocked, that she never thought defensive magic could hit this hard until someone really masters it. With a humble grin, she admits that he lit a fire under her, because now she knows she's way more immature than she ever realized, thinking she was untouchable. She shifts her expression, grins at the boy like she's in on the joke, and tells him this isn't the end. With a fearless grin, she admits she might have slipped up today, but she swears that sooner or later she'll bring him down for good. Smiling, Reese admits she's pretty sure jumping into her family's mess would be plain foolish. But the mood snaps the second the rookie remembers he'll never get to worship those airbags he saw earlier again. Latos suddenly thrusts her hand out and tells him she's hoping they'll keep being great rivals, and she wants to prove she can be a real friend to him too. When he realizes that, his heart jackhammers with excitement and nerves. Then he stares at his rival, trying to wrap his mind around her friendship request, because he knows who she really is, and now he's wondering, was she always this cute? The hero snaps and declares she'll spend the rest of her life living as a man. So the girl fires back that maybe she's asking for too much. Reese didn't want to waste a single second, so he shot the girl a smile, shook her hand tight, and promised that he'd be over the moon to be her friend. Then he grins and admits dueling with her was pure fun, and vows he'll take her opponent down again someday. After that, the girl's cheeks flare red and the boy can't focus on anything. His eyes are locked on her adorable face. Lovis awkwardly blurts out that they can still be friends, at least for now, because he managed to spot something good in that duel, and it completely throws her off. Blushing hard, she asks if he's talking about her magic, while he panics, trying to cover the truth that he knows she's a girl. Nervous and shaky, the rookie girl confirms it and blurts out, "Wait, you remember when we talked about the loser getting punished?" He remembers Zest's warning: if he messed up, he'd be stuck cleaning the school courtyard, the kind so huge it feels never-ending. Since he's being the nice guy, the boy tells Alfie that she would have helped him if he'd lost, so right then he steps up and volunteers to help Lato himself. But Reese instantly panics, thinking there's no way he'd say that if she were a man asterisk, and then worries, asterisk, did she catch it? Laughing, she blurts that Lovus didn't know somehow even exists. Water magic cleans everything, so he shrugs off the punishment like it's nothing, and then he grumbles, insisting that wouldn't even count as punishment for her. But she fires back that even if he hadn't, the boy still would have had his friends there to back him up. While they're talking, Alfie's duel erupts right then. The announcer, all flustered, admits she's secretly rooting for the prodigy, and then the professor snaps at her to stop thinking and just do her job. Staring down his opponent, the prodigy leans in and demands, "Who are you?" Annoyed, the bullcut boy snaps that his name was already called, so Alfie remembers him, looks him up, and sees he's got straight A's. Every last corner of campus buzzed about Reese's duel, and right then the bespectacled student stormed straight into the prodigy's room to take him on. Tucking his glasses in place, the bowl-cut kid leans in and tells his opponent, "I already know your secret." Back with the hero, he and the girl sprint down the hallways, racing for their lives. She rushes in and blurts out an apology for being late, but Lovis shuts it down fast, claiming it's not her fault, while he quietly wonders if the duel might already be over. While Cadna scans the crowd, a girl suddenly steps out of nowhere and catches her eye. The girl blurts out to the protagonist that she finally tracked him down. She steps up and introduces herself as Muriel Woodrow, then smiles and tells him she's a first year too. The girl snatches his hand without a second thought. With zero fear, she slides his hand onto one of her balloons and blurts out a date request, leaving the whole crowd totally stunned. The girl blurts out that she wants to go out with Levias. Then she slams his hand down harder into the airbag and the whole room goes even more wide-eyed, like nobody can believe what they just saw. Reese suddenly feels this massive weight surge through his hand, and it hits him. It feels like a giant morning star is smashing into him. Right then, Cadna and Latos swoop in and shut the whole embarrassing mess down before it can spiral any further. They cornered the girl and demanded to know exactly what she was doing. Then Latos spots Cadna standing there and she shrugs it off, she's just passing through. Cadna interrogates the girl about what she did, and Muriel insists it was a clean, rational confession. She tells me it's been recorded since ancient times, men have always had a weakness for airbags. The nerd blurts, so you're saying a guy falls for a girl just from rubbing up against an airbag, and Muriel nods and confirms it. Latos snaps and calls out to Levis, and it looks like she's stuck in a deep trance. Before she even thinks, she hurls a water blast straight for his head, snapping him out of it instantly. That keeps poking his nerves, and then the girl asks why he isn't going after Muriel, only Reese can't seem to recall a thing. Meanwhile, Woodrow admitted she was blown away not just by their performances, but by how they unleashed defensive magic like absolute masters. Cadna nods and says there's no way she's dating a perverted, despicable creep, but then his fan jumps in and totally refuses to back down. The girl leans in and asks the freshman if he's hiding more secrets about defensive magic, then basically demands to know every last detail about it. So the boy blurts that he can't just tell everyone, and Muriel goes, "That's exactly why we have to become lovers." In pure shock, he realizes this crowd isn't the kind of fame he pictured, while Latos fumes, saying they're way too close for comfort. In the middle of the duel, the bespectacled boy squares up for the fight and Alfie's mind races back to what he said. He's sure there's no way this guy could have ever figured out his reincarnation secret. That bowl-cut kid can't shake it. Ever since he arrived in the capital, he keeps spotting recipes from his past life like they're calling him back. He can't help but start wondering, what if that bowl cut is a reincarnation too? Meanwhile, the boy thunders that he'll finish his revenge. No more waiting, no more mercy. He jabs a finger at his opponent and vows that everyone will finally see the truth, that he's just a weakling after all. The moment Lightheart hears that, his hopes shatter like fragile glass, and the narrator jumps in claiming Mob's out of line, insulting the prodigy and needs to know his place. Reese glances around and grins, saying this is the perfect spot to catch the match. So Latos fires off a warning, he's still got someone tailing him. Listening to what the glasses-wearing boy said, the blue-haired girl can't help but question it. If Lightheart truly has all 4 attributes, how can anyone call him weak? Then the protagonist declares this fight will prove, once and for all, how insanely powerful the hero of the future really is. Cadna can't believe it, so few mages and legends exist who can wield all 4 attributes. She remembers folks swear a genius only needs 3 traits, but she never expected someone to somehow pull off all 4. Frustration surges through her as she insists, this kid is a threat, and she cannot under any circumstances underestimate him if she wants to reach the top. Right then, a bunch of shy girls started blushing and cheering like crazy for the 4 attribute monsters. The kid frowns through his teeth, mumbling that he's praying a magic bullet smashes his friend's face. Inside the arena, the prodigy locks eyes with his childhood friend and won't look away. Then he flashes a smug little smile like he just won. Nervous and rattled, Lovis can't help wondering if Alfie can even feel the pressure bearing down on him. In the heat of battle, Zess yells if they're both ready and pushes for a quick end like, let's finish this fast. Right then, the professor shouts that the fight is officially on, and the bowl-cut boy snaps his eyes forward and starts casting magic immediately. He snaps his aim and blasts a blazing flame bullet in seconds. Impressed, the narrator blurts out, both fighters kick off the match with the exact same attack. And the prodigy snaps back with a water bullet. Right after that whoosh, he gets hit by a wind bullet. And finally, he hurls a stone bullet straight at him, but Mob slams it into nothing and wipes the whole attack out. Spotting that kind of talent, the narrator blurts out he's the prodigy, and with everyone stunned, he declares that his 4 attributes match the rumors word for word. She even calls him a handsome catch and lists 4 perfect qualities, so yeah, she decides she's marrying him. Right back in the battle, Alfie snaps his head to the side and dodges another brutal strike from his opponent. Grinning under that bowl cut, the kid declares, don't you dare underestimate me. Shock rippled through the narrator as he watched the boy fire off a mid-level flame arrow spell, right there mid-moment. Zest can't help but marvel, convinced this year's freshmen are weirdly talented. Nervous to the bone, the bespectacled boy snaps to it and realizes that Alfie Lightheart doesn't just have them, he's got all 4 attributes and it's undeniable. While he dodges the next strike, he realizes that having 4 attributes doesn't automatically mean someone's strong. Think of a magic circle like a whole new language, each one speaks fluently for a specific attribute. So if someone has 4 attributes, they've got to grind for 4 times as long as everyone else. Then he sneers that someone as ordinary as a commoner, even a prodigy, could never pull it off, and the whole outcome would sink straight into mediocrity. Overconfidence floods him, and he boasts that his opponent can't stand a chance against a master who's dialed in on one deadly attribute. He's convinced nobody even realizes the school is crawling with the lackey the prodigy dragged in. The bespectacled boy leans in and claims the protagonist got pushed into the spotlight on Lightheart's orders. He starts connecting the dots, spotlighting that flashy entrance, watching the target get wrecked to gauge its power, and then pointing to the cafeteria chaos like it's all one huge clue. Then he blurts out the real truth, every bit of it was a setup to pull the rage off Alfie and keep him from getting exposed. Tugging his glasses into place, Rock Lee fires back that he's the only one sharp enough to see through all of this. And it all only worked because he unleashed his legendary move, calling the rookie out for a duel. Because that bowl-cut kid is dead sure, this prodigy would never dodge a flashy public duel just to save face. As he hurls fireballs one after another, his opponent just cackles uncontrollably like he's completely lost his mind. The announcer watches in shock as both of them keep slamming each other's magic with non-stop cancellations. He taking a hard look at the fight. Wield looks genuinely baffled by his student's weird behavior. Laughing at him, the bowl-cut kid blurts that the prodigy's been stuck on just the wind attribute for a while and asks why he never taps water. He tells them, if I can drown the whole area around me, I'll get a monster edge over every fire user. With a sly, suspicious grin, he leans in and asks if the only thing that prodigy can do is keep up with his insane projectile speed. Will's looking at his student like, so you're gearing up to cast that crazy advanced spell Flamespear, huh? As they gear up to unleash even more attacks, the student blurts out, why isn't Alfie flooding the battlefield with his water magic too? As they mock him, he snaps back, no way, because a prodigy has to juggle way too much, juggling 4 elements at once. The prodigy snaps his fingers and slams a windwall into place. With sweat dripping down his face, Rock Lee mutters that the windwall will only shield his opponent from elemental magic. So he wastes no time and fires a flame arrow straight at the wall. At that exact moment, the whole audience explodes to its feet. And that's when everyone finally realizes what's going on. But the student keeps telling himself this win is all his. He's promising to rip the blinders off everyone, and even his fiancée will finally see the light, too. I can't wait for what's coming next. Nerd goes all in and unleashes a blistering flame burst. Even so, Alfie taps into advanced magic powered by all 4 attributes. Seeing that, the announcer completely loses it. We use it because this talent is absolutely terrifying. He tells him how the prodigy completely rewired the magical circles around his own body. But that still isn't the whole deal, he's got that same projection level speed and pinpoint accuracy, too. He finally admits that during the exam, facing him felt like a brutal nightmare. Zest breaks it down and basically screams, no, this is a quadruple projection. While restructuring everything at once, he cranks all 4 attributes together monstrous. Reese says, yeah, I knew that already, but still, he's totally clueless how his friend even managed to pull it off. Alfie flashes back for a second and explains it like a secret code. Every attribute has its own magic circle, its own language to speak. He draws an analogy and says it's like getting letters written in different languages. And somehow replying to every single one at the exact same time, correctly, no mistakes allowed. In the present day, the hero panics on the spot, blurting that this is way scarier than his own magic. Meanwhile, the bowl-cut boy is frozen stiff, his legs shaking like they're about to give out. With a straight face, he refuses to accept it and growls that guy is up to his usual tricks again. Lightheart cracks back, saying he was only messing with the glasses guy's illusions, and that he already knows exactly how weak he really is. He's claiming some talentless idiot actually beat him, and that there's no way he can match that feat with plain old effort. With a terrifying grin, he snarls that his opponent has just one magic attribute they can use to fight back. With a terrifying aura roaring off him, the prodigy lays out several deadly options for his opponent, one choice for each attribute. The bespectacled student breaks down, gasping that the prodigy is lucky, because his life is already guaranteed. He drops his head to the ground and gives up, letting Alfie walk away as the winner. That day, two little sparks lit the fuse, and once that fire caught, the duels just kept escalating, faster and deadlier with every round. Later on, a student bursts into the post office, like they've got something urgent on their mind. And right over here, two classmates are huddled up, gushing like crazy about how amazing Reese's is. Hearing that, the student snaps with irritation, then they're hit with the news: the next battle is coming right up. A mage doesn't pop into existence overnight, so our hero never skips that brutal early morning routine. Then, without warning, the world flips on its head. When he spots his number one fan passed out cold on the grass, he steps in to wake her up, but nothing he does works. Right then, he finally spots one of the airbags he touched earlier. Lovis fights with every ounce of willpower, trying not to do something wildly stupid. Nerves claw at him as he prays his right hand isn't twitching on instinct. As the hero clamps down on himself, he can't help wondering, does Alfie strike those wild poses every day just to keep his own madness from spilling out? Then out of nowhere, the boy shows up and tells them, straight up, don't compare him to that guy. The awkward boy quickly blurts that he won't touch her, and his friend snaps back, if you do, I'm reporting you. As he closes in, the prodigy leans toward his friend and blurts out, wait, was it that girl who invited me out? Confused, he blurts out why he'd turned her down, because back in the village he'd been going on and on about how badly he wanted a girlfriend. Reese insists it was a one-sided love, but before the awkward silence can hit, he pivots on a dime and challenges his friend to a fight. With his coat flying off, Alfie leans in and asks if he's frustrated, like he needs martial arts classes just to burn off all that restless energy. He bolts forward without a second thought, and his friend snaps up a block just in time to stop the kick. Grinning wide, the hero tells them, just for today, I'm going to smash that annoying face of yours into pulp. Then he lunges in with a punch to strike back, only for it to get dodged, and the boy blurts out, so it's going to be without magic? His friend answers, yeah. His friend warns, if we even touch magic here, the whole plaza gets obliterated. As they clash, Lovis leans in and grills his friend, asking if people's view of defensive magic has finally gotten better. Prodigy smirks and says it all comes down to his friend's reputation at that school, which has skyrocketed in quality. To prove it, he boasts he's gone from being some annoying stray dog to a street performer monkey. Then he says Latus deserves the real credit because he fought off the boy's wild, non-stop attacks like a force to be reckoned with. Reese keeps throwing punch after punch, hunting for that one clean hit. He charges in with everything he's got, but he still says he's nowhere close to hitting his goal. Alfie dodges again and fires the question at him. He refuses to rot in this school forever. Their eyes lock, two forces standing toe-to-toe, both equally fierce. The two unleash the exact same kind of kick, same power, same deadly snap. Right then, Lightheart's mind snaps back to every warning the teacher tossed out while his friend was locked in a duel. With a sly smirk, the prodigy tells the protagonist that more and more people are finally starting to spot his talent. After the dust settled from the fight, the prodigy leans in and tells his friend, I'm heading to the cafeteria, like it's a mission. Then Lovis suddenly realizes he's dropped something. Right then his number one fan snaps awake. As she rises, she tells the freshman she already knows his whole morning routine and begs to watch him run it again, only for him to shrug and say he's done it all already. Switching gears, she grins and promises she's about to unveil her real strategy. By baring her defenseless body, they aim to spark Reese's cravings, get him to reach for the airbags, and then trap him with it as blackmail. But when she checks her body, there's zero proof anything ever happened. Suspicion sparks in her eyes. She stares at the boy and demands to know what's written on that paper in his hand. Reese snaps back, it's Alfie's, then tosses it down onto the ground. A while later, right on the training campus, Zest calls out, duels are blowing up right now, and that's why the campuses suddenly get used way more. The teacher won't stop talking, and it's starting to drive everyone crazy. Then he clocks her yawning and without wasting a second blurts out, are you getting enough sleep? Watching the students burst into laughter, the man leans in and tells them that for a mage, sleep isn't optional, it's how magic power gets fully restored. He claims that by breathing, they pull in that outside source packed with all kinds of traits, so the most efficient way to absorb it from yourself is to sleep. Then he shrugs and says, maybe that's why she's running short on magical power and why she can't handle the crucial duel. The moment that class kicks off, they make you hit the restored measurement target, right on cue, no hesitation. With a deep breath, Alfie chants a spell, begging a dragon to loan him its power to obliterate his enemy. He snaps his fingers and slams down several magic circles at once, summoning an advanced 4-attribute spell. He blasts out a devastating strike, stacking all 4 powers, earth, water, wind, and fire into one unstoppable hit. Even with all that raw power, the target stays unbroken, somehow untouched. With a rush of excitement, Zess starts wondering who's next. Fuming, he starts wrestling with one question: what move could turn everything around and get him a way better result? Alfie begs to have another go, and the nerdy girl plus Lovis all jump in for a turn too, until the professor's patience snaps. Then he jabs a finger at the protagonist and snarls that next time he smashes something, he'll make him pay. One of the students starts to snap from all the attention he's getting. He lost control and blurted out to the boy. With a venomous glare, he dares the freshman to a duel today, refusing to waste a single second. Dazed, the boy can't even remember who this student is. He promises, I'll be free tomorrow. After a while, Reese strides towards some kind of event, like something big is about to go down. With his heart racing, he heads out with his #1 fan, his childhood friend and Lotta's. With nerves fluttering in her chest, the girl blurts out that this pastry shop is legendary and asks if they can step inside. The hero leans in and tells you his friend. It comes with a free ticket to a cake buffet, good for 4 people. Right then, Lotto spots Alfie and snaps, "Who are you?" And Alfie quickly tells him he used to come and sell recipes to this very place. Meanwhile, Lovis and Muriel start closing the distance fast, bonding over their sweet tooth and going full force on sugary cravings together. Bellowing at the top of his lungs, the protagonist demands they use the ticket to jump the line, and the whole place instantly spirals into panic. With a terrifying stare, the rookie leans in and tells Lattice that the battlefield won't spare a single soul. In the shadows, Cadna cowered and stared, stunned. She never pictured her enemy Reese as the kind of guy who devours sweets. She's unleashing a wind spell from the All-Fire clan, like she just cracked open the sky itself. Her presence slips past detection, but she suddenly gets flustered because this strange girl is staring at her like she's being caught in the act. Suddenly someone screams out, "Reese Lovis." This person hurls a stone attribute spell, but the hero snaps his shield up and blocks it cold. The bully stomps in and snatches him by the tie. Annoyed out of his mind, Lotto snaps at the rookie, asking what he's thinking, then warns him there are tons of innocent people right around them. Rage bubbling, the bully grabs him and demands to know how he dared ignore his challenge and go messing around in the streets. That student is absolutely seething with rage. And just when he decides to charge ahead, a hand clamps down on his arm and yanks him to a stop. Rage flares in him as he demands to know who this is, then declares he's from the Amos family. Right then, panic hits. He realizes the grip on his arm belongs to one of the royal guards from the capital. Nervous as you are, then the bully drops to his knees and apologizes like nothing happened. Without a single ounce of mercy, the knights swarmed him all at once and attacked. Lightheart asks if his friend really broke that promise with the guy, and then he snaps back, "Nah, it wasn't some betrayal, it was all my mistake, just a misunderstanding." Bruised and flattened like a smashed cookie, the bully finally spits out that he was wrong. Sweating bullets, the protagonist just grins and thanks one of the guards for all his hard work. Then the old man drops a hunch about what really happened, but he needs the details, so he waves the rookie over to the guard post. Because it was him who held the damage in check with defensive magic. Devastated that he can't even enjoy the free buffet, Reese drops to his knees like the world just ended. Frustration flares in him and he dares the bully to a duel, because if they're going to suffer today, they'll do it side by side. Lotto's can't even recall the guy's name, and the only person who remembers Barca at all is that nerd lurking just out of sight. The very next day, as Lotto's sipped tea, he leaned in and dropped the bombshell. He'd been hearing rumors about what went down the day before. And he demands to know, "Are you really going to duel Barca, Reese?" And the boy tells his friend, "Don't sweat it, I'm gonna beat the unlucky punk so bad he'll be scraping his pride off the floor." Fuming, he snaps that the noisy brat ruined his buffet, and Alfie can't believe the audacity of his friend, using his ticket and then still insisting the buffet was his. The shameless jerk fires back that if Alfie has it, he gets it too, because Giant is his name, a total menace from that Japanese cartoon, *Doraemon****. His friends freeze, totally thrown off by the insult, so Alfie snaps, telling them to drop it because he accidentally let slip a piece from his past life. Out of nowhere, a Muriel materializes at the table and Reese snaps at her to never pop in like that again, especially not from under the table because explaining what she was doing would be a nightmare. She drops that she heard there's a duel coming with that perverted brat, then asks if Alfie's the one, but Alfie snaps back that nope, nobody there wants to get their ass handed to them. Then the girl blurts what happened, and Reese snaps into explanation. Turns out that furious kid unleashed magic right in the streets. But that duo's not happening anytime soon, because the brats are about to spend a whole month locked up. When she clocks all that, the lazy girl instantly checks out of the conversation, then pivots to Lotto's and demands to know why he didn't go challenge Reese to another duel. And he fires back, after you lose a duel you can't jump into another for a while. Still, the boy's not fooled. Once that timer finally runs out, he knows he still won't be able to beat him. His odds still look grim, so he decides to stick close to Reese and finally dig deeper to understand him. The girl keeps sliding her eyes around and blurts out who that third boy at their table has been the whole time, because it turns out she's been chatting with Alfie the entire while, without even realizing it was him. When she finds out he's the guy with the 4 attributes, her jaw drops, while Reese grimly refuses to soak up the spotlight his friend's getting. Muriel can't stop staring at the guy's elemental powers, and then she rushes to apologize for getting distracted and not realizing it was him. Lotto's pounced on the moment and asked her why she suddenly cared more about defensive magic than the 4 attributes. The girl says this elemental power is insanely rare, but Reese's is even rarer. Then shameless Lovis seizes the moment and asks what she thinks about his friend's irresistible beauty, and she just shrugs like she couldn't care less, which makes him go wild because he's finally found someone who doesn't fall for that stuff. But Alfie shuts him up on the spot, slamming a fist into his mouth the very moment he talks. The boy fires back asking why he punched him, and his friend says he thought his barrier would shield him, so Reese steps in, calls him out, and dares him to settle it hand to hand. Muriel snatches the moment and asks straight up if that's Alfie, then dares him to a duel. The coward snaps back, no, this wasn't it. She presses him, asking why he won't do it, and the boy drops the truth, he can't see a single shot at winning. Just then Cardina bursts in, claiming she caught every word of their conversation. She tells him she just figured out the two are rivals and both hail from the same village, but somehow they never once stepped up to challenge each other to a duel. And now she finally gets it. The famous Alfie is a chicken, plain and simple. But that doesn't shut him up. He keeps talking and demands to know if she has any clue how many times he's battled that fool Reese. With a fierce, threatening stare, he snaps that she has no clue what she's talking about and shouldn't run her mouth like she does, especially since he's never even bothered to challenge her himself, then calls her the real chicken. That pushes the girl he's stuck arguing with over the edge. They lock eyes and hold their ground so fiercely it's like sparks are about to burst out between them. That's what makes Reese feel totally irresistible, but Lotto shuts it down fast, and yeah, literally nobody wants to throw hands with him. Later, out on the training field, the boy snaps that he needs to practice his magic, and then he fires back, "Why did you two shadow me?" as he glares at the lazy-faced, blue-haired stalkers standing right in front of him. Lotto says he had the same thought, and since he was already right there, he grilled Muriel with a few questions about his magic, then pushed her to confirm his story. But she snaps that it's all nonsense. She just wants to stay right beside Reese because hanging around him more might finally spark those romantic feelings. Lovis tells them that if they want a peek at his defensive magic, he'll spill a few secrets, and then he starts casting the spell. But when Lattice tries to copy him, shaping his magic into a hexagon just like his, Reese tells you that once you pull off one, you should aim for 6 or more, but the blue-haired one snaps back that it's impossible. Then his friend breaks it down, do it with every fingertip one by one until you've built the honeycomb barrier. And yeah, every single hexagon has to match perfectly in size and width. Seeing Lotto's face drop, he blurts out, "What's wrong?" And Lotto snaps back, "No, I'm just shocked you agreed to teach me that easily." Reese shrugs and says he's not hiding his technique at all. He's just begging everyone to finally accept defensive magic. Lotto calls it poetic, but Muriel shuts him down, telling him he still has a whole vault of secrets he won't let out. No matter what, the boy grabs his friend's attention and shouts that he has to keep training to nail his magic control, because the boy is about to practice solo. Lados keeps hammering away at a hexagon, but Muriel snaps that she hates it, so when they ask why, the real reason comes out. She's right on the edge of cracking the hex, but every try still fights her like a wall. Because it's not some ordinary magic circle, you've gotta command and aim every single part on your own, and doing that takes a super delicate technique. The sheer patience it takes to forge that magic is wild, so now she's hungry to learn it piece by piece more and more. Hearing all of it, Lados can't hold back and decides to ask if Reese's only obsession is her magical power. Muriel shoots back a suspicious glare, demands what he's really trying to ask, while the poor guy can't even explain what he meant. As she watches her beloved train, Lattice's question starts pounding in her head over and over. Meanwhile, we flash to Barsa's past, watching him beam at his brother as he gets accepted into the school of genius mages, then bragging that he'll get in too and storm to the top of the class. Then his brother drops the bombshell. He's the other heir to the family legacy, and right there, he admits he's always dreamed of being accepted into the Magistral Order of Magic. That's a feat only the purest nobles can pull off in these lands, and now he's daring little Barca to come stand beside him. The boy tears after his brother, then slams into something out of nowhere, and his confusion spikes as he stares at it, trying to figure out what on earth it is. He spots Rhys Lovis's image staring back at him. The earth buckles under his feet, and he drops straight into a swallowing darkness. Waking up in a full-blown panic, he jerks around and realizes he's locked inside a prison. The second he realizes it was all just a dream, irritation explodes in him as the memory of who's tormenting him slams back into place. Later that night, Rhys strides alone across the training ground. He hurries out, realizing he left his uniform behind, then, just as he starts to go, a creepy sound rattles the air. He freezes, slips around the corner, and peeks at what's making it. He spots Cardina and blasts her with the magic circles she can summon. And he unleashed a storm of gunfire, picking off multiple targets one after another. But one of them refuses to fall. So she pulls out one last shot and commits to it. It unleashes an insanely powerful gust that finally slams it down, shattering it into pieces that scatter across the ground. And it drains her down to nothing, leaving her utterly worn out. Someone strides in, barges into the moment, and blurts out that it was a downright brutal, insanely good attack. It's Rhys Lovis who finally blurts out her apology for spying on her. But the girl brushes him off like he's nothing, so small it doesn't even get under her skin. Rhys shoots back, "How are you still this full of energy at this hour?" And Cardina snaps, "I don't need your comments. I'm already done with what I was doing." As she walks and keeps staring at her own nose, the wind trips her up, and she tumbles forward, landing face first on the ground. But right before it lands, the boy lunges in front of her, takes the hit, and cushions the blow. Then he smirks and says her foot's obviously giving her some serious trouble. She tumbles into his powerful, muscular arms and doesn't even flinch. She just mutters that being called a coward doesn't touch her peace of mind, and yeah, that's the line she wished she'd said right then. She snaps, saying she can't stand commoners like him, and then drops the real weight of her life. As the eldest daughter, she's chained to perfection, forced to be the best and stay on top at all times. That pressure drives her to grind harder and level up nonstop, but here's the catch: Rhys is dying to escape, and she just keeps yapping without stopping. The problem is where they're standing, because it feels like a heavy crossbow is digging into his chest, pinching his ribs and piercing straight through. The girl fires back, demanding to know why he's even here, and how he's pushing himself so hard when he's stuck at a real disadvantage for lacking an attribute. Until he snaps, stands up in one sudden burst like he's had enough, and scoops the girl up into his arms like it's the last thing that matters. Then he sums it up as simply as possible: he's just a hobbyist at heart, obsessed with magic that comes without names attached. He's never once treated it like a weakness. The girl stares at him like he's made of pure greatness, so Rhys gently lowers her to the ground and tells her he'll be seeing her around. As he celebrates slipping away, he throws in the cruel little warning: when she finally snaps back to reality, she's going to be furious. Little does he know, her kindness is a trap, and her intentions are way more vicious than he could ever imagine. Now she finally got it, she knew exactly why she hated him so damn much. The next day, someone barges in and tells Barca, "You've got a visitor," and the boy snaps back, "Who the hell is it?" A shadowy hooded stranger shows up and begs for help to take down Rhys Lovis. And that's when the boy's curiosity hits full blast. It's the school director herself, stepping in to tell him she'll hand over a little advice. She insists there's no issue with going after him, just as long as first he turns someone into his little pet. Inside the dueling coliseum, another idiot swaggered up to Rhys Lovest and dared him to a duel, claiming his defensive magic was all talk and he'd shut it down for good. The announcer blasts out a total curveball. Magic Kid is facing a defensive beast, and his opponent is an unknown challenger no one saw coming. Rhys flashes a massive grin, like he already knows there's nothing at all to fear. Muriel storms onto the scene, bracing herself against the iron bar to take a load off, and that snap startles Latos, who blurts out, "So who's the new extra in this fight?" The boy tells him that after school, Rhys got hit with a totally random challenge out of nowhere. Probably some idiot who'd never witnessed the duel between Latos and Lovis and still clung to those rumors like they weren't true. The girl blurts that she's thrilled she showed up just in time to watch the beatdown explode. Finally, the announcer slams the match starting and turns to Alfie, who's standing right beside her, begging for a comment, yet the boy just goes completely silent. That extra, yeah, that's literally his name, boasts that he's gonna smash through their defensive magic with intermediate-level spells. Before he can land even one cast, a steroid-fueled lunatic locks eyes with him and comes for the smackdown. In the background, all we hear is the crushing humiliation of losing in one brutal hit, and everyone's stunned that it's over that fast. Rhys and his friends dip out of the scene. Lato blasts that the fight was over in one punch. Muriel calls it dull and Alfie shoots back, asking if his friend even gets how jam-packed their lives are. He tries to fend him off, snapping that the idiot who challenged him was nothing but a lowlife spamming intermediate magic and jeering the whole time. Alfie says that's why nobody knows his magic style, and Rhys snaps back, asking if he's really meant to worry about his reputation mid-fight, then pushes the bigger question: what happens if he loses because of it? As they near the school, he peels away from his friends and Lattice calls out, "Where are you headed?" only for him to say his buddy left his bag nearby, so he turns to go grab it. Rhys gets cornered by Barsuf, who steps up and greets him with confidence, and tells him to quit acting like he's already unbeatable. Not being the one who started it, Lovus leans in and asks how it felt to spend a week in the slammer, then rage hits the boy hard. But the lack of any reaction floors the master of defensive magic. He sees the truth instantly. This guy's got tougher resilience than expected. Then he snatches his bag and bolts out. Right as he's leaving, Barca calls after him, "See you tomorrow." Realizing what he meant, Rhys nodded and promised to settle it with a duel, sending the boy's rage through the roof. He remembers the prison when a hooded figure leaned in and asked, "Need help taking down Lovis?" Barca leans in and asks, "So you're saying if he won't listen to you, he's gonna lose? And if he goes in without a plan, that's exactly what's going to happen, and it'll be a brutal, miserable experience." The boy clenches his courage, channels his magic, and braces to strike that figure. But she demands to know, does he really plan to cast magic while he's already trapped in his cell? So what makes him snap, give up, and tell her to get out? The hooded woman shoots him a question: did he catch the duel between Rhys and Latos? The hothead fires off, demanding what she means, and the woman practically gloats. She's thrilled she was right. She blurts out she doesn't remember seeing him that day, then thrusts a pendant into his hands, insisting it's a phantom stone, a magic tool that can lock away and preserve whoever wears its visual memories. She claims she recorded that fight herself and offers to hand the footage over to him. Then Barca snaps, "Who the hell are you and what do you want?" She drops her name and he shuts his mouth, because her past isn't his business. And she's just as determined as he is. Together, they're set on crushing Rhys Lovis. She says it sucks being trapped there for a whole week, so he better use every second to cook up strategies for when the duel finally hits. Barca snatched the item in his hand and immediately started plotting his strategy with it. The very next morning, Rhys is gearing up to kick off his daily training and dive straight into stretching. Right out of nowhere, Muriel shows up like a ghost and demands to know who taught him those moves. The boy snaps at her, telling her not to creep up on him like that. Then the girl fires off a question: "Did you learn that from your master back in your hometown?" And the boy nods, confirming it. Muriel blurts out, "Am I a mage?" and he just smirks like the answer is obvious. Studying his weird movements, the girl says they're built to toughen his body to the bone, but she still can't shake the question. Was his master truly a mage? Rhys answers that the master warned that most mages ignore their bodies, and that's exactly why she despised them. Then Muriel leans in and asks if the technique he showed her the other day was something his master taught him. The boy credits it to the hell he lived through, days grinding in brutal cold, no sleep, and getting crushed by debuffs that left him wrecked with non-stop severe fatigue. Just thinking about it makes the poor guy's stomach twist with dread. Muriel presses him, asking about the Forest of Hades. The one she heard was right in his town, and whether he's ever stepped inside. As he keeps training, he blurts, yes, because that place is the reason he met the old lady and it's still his training ground. That hits the girl like a slap and she blurts, is your master the great sage? And the poor guy instantly loses his focus. He turns to his friend and fires off the question, and she tells him the professor who brought her there said the great sage was hiding in the Forest of Hades. Reese then snaps that he can't even ask her for a referral. His master's got awful taste for certain kinds of people. Even when she refuses to train Alfie, Muriel doesn't bat an eye, because the boy grabs the moment and fires off a question about the professor who dragged her here. He fires off a question, did they escort you here? And she nods dead serious saying, yeah, because I'm just a commoner. But right now, school doesn't exactly light a spark in her. She just wanted to stay home, do absolutely nothing, except study magic all day, and yeah, she was a full-on introvert. Her parents were merchants, so they rolled in dough even though they were commoners. Her bookshelves were stacked to the brim, and that alone made her feel like she'd hit the jackpot. Her parents never could stomach the idea of locking their daughter in a school, so they hired a private tutor instead. And just like that, her teacher turned out to be a fellow graduate from the Genius Magic School, and the whole room went wide-eyed with shock. At first he was gentle as he offered to guide her, but the moment she hit that certain age, everything flipped. He shoved her into the dorm and they pulled every string to get her enrolled, and Reese immediately goes, that wording is weird and downright dangerous. She whirls on the boy and asks if her story somehow turned him on, and Luvis shoots back, that's never happening, so stop setting these traps. Plopped onto the ground, wiped out from training, he asks if his friend regrets coming here, only for Muriel to shake her head and say, no. Now she's got a research subject that's absolutely fascinating. But Reese doesn't hear it as a compliment at all. Her story still feels familiar to him, and now the reason finally clicks. Back when he hadn't met the old lady and Alfie yet, his whole life was just one bad habit, ditch class, then burn every single hour training his defensive magic. And if that accident hadn't happened, he never would have crashed into that forest, and his bond with Alfie would have stayed exactly the same. Muriel snatches her chance while her beloved is completely distracted, and tries to slip in a tiny taste. The boy snaps, what the hell were you trying to do? And honestly, poor guy just froze because sure, noble clothes in the countryside sound great, but the brunette moves in for a kiss and he panics. Turns out she wasn't going for romance at all, she only wanted to ask about the scar on his cheek. Reese swears it's from training with that old lady, but the girl's like, that makes no sense, someone as unstoppable as the great sage should be able to erase those scars. The boy admits she's right, and then it hits even harder. She healed those brutal accident injuries so completely that there wasn't a single trace left behind. No matter how softly the healing comes, it leaves a mark you can't escape. Because if you keep getting smashed in the exact same spot during training, your body starts building scars just like that. And yeah, he's got even more of those nasty marks all over him. Gently lifting the boy's face, Muriel tells him, you're not disgusting at all. Because if that's not true, then there's nothing about him that even matters. Flushed with embarrassment, the boy blurts, I get it, then steps back like he's trying to hide the heat rising in his face. He bluffs that it's way too hot, so he wants to ditch his morning training, until the girl shuts him down, saying he hasn't even made it halfway through yet. The boy yanks at his core, tightening the shirt's opening, then it rips clean open like something inside just snapped. With that, Muriel spots the scar dead center on his chest, then blurts out, what kind of training leaves a mark like that? But the boy shuts it down right away, covers it up and reassures her, telling her there's nothing to fear, just some harmless nonsense. And just like that, she's left staring at the quiet alone. But Reese insists he doesn't want anyone else to know, and he begs her to keep it secret. His trust lights up her smile, then she pivots fast and asks if he's up for a duel after school, and he says, yeah. Muriel scoffs that there's no way he'll lose, but he cuts in, insisting he has to win. Even the boy sounds just as lost as we are, like what's happening. He tells her to meet him there so they can finally talk, and the boy immediately agrees. Later that same day, inside the Colosseum, the announcer, already crushed that no real fight was coming, stands up and announces that Reese is about to duel again. Someone jokes that she sounds bored and she snaps back, that's because I can't ask Alfie for commentary today, I already did that the other day. The magic isolation circle has already been raised, and the trap is officially in place. The next showdown is locked in. Ruthless, already a name everyone knows, is stepping into the ring against his opponent, whose name isn't even worth saying because everyone already knows exactly how this ends. Barca. Everyone's buzzing to watch the fight, yet a few people can't stand what the announcer says. Lottos leans in and asks Alfie if he thinks that guy can take down Reese, and Alfie just shrugs, saying it's tough to say for sure. Because if everything falls into place, his friend is set to win big, but one wild twist could still crash the party. Muriel slides in beside them and confidently declares the boy is absolutely going to take the win. Then Cadna slides in right next to Lottos and snaps that if it were her, she'd never make such a boneheaded declaration. Even if Barca grates on everyone's nerves, he's still a noble, not one of the usual troublemakers Reese has tangled with so far. Muriel snaps back that Cadna's claim has zero ground and Alfie jumps in to back her up. Lottos then leans in and asks if it's really bothering him. And he tells him that's what I told Reese yesterday, then adds, please don't let it be you thinking of yanking some crazy move with your defensive magic. No matter what, this duel will spill every secret, and everyone will know the truth. Reese drops into a fighting stance, and suddenly it's not just about winning anymore. This clash is all about proving what defensive magic can truly survive, at least that's what everyone else believes. Truth is, Lovis isn't just fighting, he's striking back for the cakes, and right on cue, a glowing magic circle snaps into existence on his back. And boom, wings burst into existence. Everyone's staring at the wings on his back, and even his friends are thrown for a loop, yes, including Cadna, because Barca has absolutely no clue what he's doing. That's the kind of move that smashes right past a mere jump, using reflection magic like a step to launch forward. This is pure acceleration. Reese gets launched forward like a rocket, ripping ahead at full speed with everything he's got. When he finally reaches Barca, he slams in with a crushing strike that erupts into a giant cloud of dust. But everyone's jaw dropped. His opponent raised his Gaia fist and defended himself. And that's because close quarters all about deadly close-range brawling. One move from him and Reese gets hurled flying far away. That only fires the boy up even more for the fight. But before we hit that final outcome, let's rewind to everything that went down right before the duel even started. While the announcer droned out her dead-sounding commentary, Lovis got roasted as a talentless clown, and the others demanded he finally prove he had something worth watching. Seeing that, Barca snaps, irritation spikes through him like lightning. It's always the same story with Reese. Everyone bursts into laughter like he just dropped the funniest joke on earth. The boy can't stop wondering what makes someone so special. Could it be that magical gift, honed and handed down through generations? The nobles tried to force that kind of talent into their ranks, even if it meant taking a lucky commoner who just happened to shine, but Reese is nothing like the rest. During the measurement test fiasco, Barca is convinced it was a setup, because the device flashed that he had zero talent and that felt like a trap. But somehow he still clawed his way to the top of the most prestigious school, so now he's convinced the whole world is being played. But thank goodness he clocked that a few people there were totally thinking with their heads. And now Barca is going to put him in his place, teaching him, the hard way, how massive the difference in status really is. Right then, Reese kicked into full acceleration, and the only thing the boy could think was that nobles must be the only true mages here. He's ready to go all in to crush his own ego and finally make everyone face the truth. Their fists slam together, and in Barca's head there's only one mission: prove to everyone what real power actually looks like. But his earth gauntlet snaps and shatters right before his eyes. The announcer erupts, and when Reese lands that strike, her punch makes her heart skip a beat too. Looks like we're heading straight for a brutal close-quarters brawl today. Lottos can't believe it. Turns out that noble kid is way more capable than anyone expected. But Alfie fires off a question: how did Barca know exactly how to counter the acceleration if he'd never even seen Reese fight? Maybe it's all that brutal close-quarters experience talking. Right then, Cadna blurts out whether this acceleration magic is the same one. Before she can even finish, Muriel cuts in with a smug, "Yep, same spell he used on Lottos, and of course somehow they've ended up switched here." Then she explains the trick: reflect it twice, smash the reflections together, and boom, explosive power erupts. Lottos is stunned because his friend is blasting magic without even drawing a magic circle. Alfie clocks just how hard Muriel studied the topic, while Cadna, still wearing that clueless look, stays quiet because she has zero clue what's going on. Meanwhile, the arena's brawl is blazing hotter by the second Reese snaps in an elbow strike and grills his opponent, asking if the hype is finally over. Barca snaps, "Shut up," and the moment he speaks, a magic circle flares, warning everyone not to treat him like some lowly commoner. Then he lashes out with a magic spell called Stone Wall ***, smashing Reese full on. But the boy swats it away with one hand, then snaps with frustration when he sees his opponent fleeing. The noble taunts him, daring him to catch him, and with a blur of speed the commoner boy sprints straight at the loudmouth brat. Then bam, a stone wall slams into view right in front of him. And because he's flying at full speed, he crashes straight into it, right on cue, just like Barca planned. Alfie couldn't believe how thrilling it felt. He nailed every timing and spot on, but the job's far from done. The hot-headed kid hurls a spell variant and slams a sideways wall into the air to nail his foe, only for the opponent to slip away with a Matrix-like dodge. And finally, he goes for the jugular. He plans to smash him for good by building a brand new wall, this time right under the boy. To break free, the boy uses a reflection to fling himself away, yet this isn't the end. Right then, Barca slams the arena floor and readies a stone bullet. He grabs the rocketrock and slings it straight at Reese. Everyone's stunned except Muriel, who barely even flinches, while the announcer can't believe his own eyes. The melee chaos has somehow stretched into a deadly long-range fight. And just like you'd expect from a master of defensive magic, Reese is still standing. Then he grins and says the trap with those two giant stone walls was really brilliant. For him, this duel keeps ratcheting up, one heartbeat then another until it's pure adrenaline. The duel dome is blazing with combat and young Bar's mind is racing. Plans are exploding in his head as he fights to figure out how to win. Still, he's convinced he can win, because it's not the magic defense that's his real threat. Even if it caught him off guard, it's the boy's insane reaction speed that scares him. But honestly, this was exactly what he'd been expecting all along. That first move nearly caught him off guard, but he snapped his guard up and blocked it, probably thanks to that figure's advice. She swears that if her plan plays out the way she wants, Barca boy's absolutely about to take the win. Once again, the boy blasts off with a stone rocket, but Reese smirks and springs sideways to dodge it. He springs off the ground, plants his feet midair, and rockets straight at his opponent to smash the distance shut. And with that angle, he surged forward like there was no such thing as a wall. But he's not helpless. He plants his magic circle and fires an earthen diffusion cannon. Reese forges his gauntlets on the spot, takes the blow on purpose, and keeps surging forward until he's right in front of his opponent. That terrifies Barca because this kid is pure insanity, sprinting down a nearly unguarded lane straight into the attack. The noble snaps up a stone barrier at the absolute last second, but Reese's punch smashes it instantly. But the second he makes it to the other side, his opponent is gone, nowhere to be seen. Without warning, a hailstorm of rocks comes flying at him, and he throws up his arms to shield himself on instinct. That was Gaia's spear, and it pissed Reese off to the core because his opponent bragged that they specialized in close-quarters combat, yet they were trading shots from far away. The crowd's going wild as the brawl rages on, and Lotto's blurting out that it looks like they're just toying with his friend. And Alfie blurts, "Yeah, that's true," because Bars ended up being a brutal opponent and Lovis is desperate to close the distance, but that noble won't give him a chance to land his dazzling dance of strikes. Cadna snaps that the hothead's moves are too perfectly timed to be random, and she bets he's got even more sneaky tricks ready to blow her away. But Muriel insists Barca is starting to lose control, and she swears she spotted that noblewoman watching them on Cake Day. Now she's defending Barca a little too fiercely. Cadna snaps back, insisting the girl is defending Reese just as hard, but the mood flips fast when everyone realizes she was spying on them that day, and the noblewoman immediately denies it. Muriel then leans in and says, "Last time we were at the bakery, that unlucky girl was watching us, lurking behind a wall," and she sounds absolutely certain. The woman asks if she might be mixing her up with someone else, and our beloved lazy girl just shrugs and flat out says no. No way two different people could have the same mug, end up in the same place, and still have airbags that match hers. That pair she's clutching is unmistakable, and I'm telling you that's the whole truth. Laduz even rises up and tells her, if you wanted cake you just had to say it. But the only thing racing through Cadna's head is this: how in the world did Muriel spot her wind magic that easily? And she knows she can't let her guard down for a second. Meanwhile, right in the middle of the brawl, Reese kicks his acceleration back into gear, again. Barca digs in and braces for the incoming strike, because that's the only shot a commoner has to even get close. The boy lunges in with everything he's got and his opponent scrambles to summon a stone wall, but he's too slow and the boy crashes through anyway. With his earth gauntlets, Barca smashes the blow out of the way, but this time it looks like Reese finally has him. With that defensive gauntlet locked on, he growls that this time, escape isn't happening. The two snap their arms into place, bracing for impact, and unleash a brutal, no-holds-barred brawl where every hit lands like a truck, until their fists finally crash, right when both of their right gauntlets shatter to pieces. But it's not done yet, everyone can feel it. Right on cue, their fists collide again and both of those left gauntlets explode into shards on impact. Alfie knows exactly how this goes. Spells forged for fights like this still snap the moment they hit their limit, so the two step back and grab the moment to bring their gauntlets back to the fight. Reese charges forward again, and Barca throws up a wall to stop him. The brawl keeps raging blow after blow, and the champ is whoever snaps their magic circles into place first. But between the two, Reese absolutely destroys. Alfie blurts out that he can finally see who's going to win this duel. Barca snarls at the commoner not to mess with him, then slams up a stone wall to blast the boy back. Then he scrambles to put space between them again, but Reese refuses to let him slip away, because the noble only gets one glimpse before Reese is closing in once more. Then it hits him, everything the mysterious figure warned him about earlier comes rushing back. Her spell had a super tiny range and it drained him like crazy. The hooded figure insists that it's precisely because of that asterisk that's how she's willing to give him a shot at winning. Then he whips out a brand new move, asterisk spiral giga lance of Gaia asterisk. Reese snaps his shield up instantly, pure instinct taking over his body. And the insane speed behind it is only possible because he's forged himself through hellish training, somehow. That's the dead wrong move, she knows it instantly, and the old witch snaps at him like a foolish disciple. The instant the strike hits the barrier, it punches right through like it was never there. That's Barca's long-awaited opening, and he's throwing every ounce of power he has into that attack. This is it, the win is ours. But then, out of nowhere, the boy just cuts off his magic. He let the attack slam straight into him, and the guy can't wrap his head around why his opponent would choose to do it. But don't count him out, this boy draws back his right fist and lines up a brutal, game-changing strike. A magic cannon erupts, an energy blast that pulverizes the lance right in front of him. And Reese charges right up to his opponent. And for the first time in the brawl, he drives a punch straight into the center of his chest. It twists the noble into a violent gag, forcing him to vomit even food he never swallowed. Then his strength finally snaps and he crumples to the ground. And it's over. This is the finish of the fight, and the winner is none other than Reese Lovis, who let everyone witness a battle like nothing they've ever seen. He got slammed at first, fought his way back, and then somehow flipped it into another cakewalk win, crushing it out there and putting on a show that blew everyone's minds. But the boy won't admit it. This fight isn't nearly as easy as he'd hoped. He's got a mountain left to climb, and he knows it. Finally, inside the school, Barca picked up his breath and got ready again, having been resting up. Now he jolts awake in the infirmary, and rage explodes through him like wildfire. He keeps snapping out how cursed that faceless boy is, and right when he's done, the hooded figure shows up and asks if he's still mad about the loss. That cursed grin is back again. He doesn't want to waste a second arguing with the hero, but the creature won't back off. She closes in fast and demands to know if he's not planning to retaliate and attack her. But the boy insists that in the end she'd helped him more than anything through killer advice, and he says a noble would never waste a chance like that with foolishness. Then the figure shoots back, mess around again later and you'll get expelled on the spot. The boy's patience snapped, but right then he fought through the irritation because he still had two burning questions he needed to ask that figure. So how did Reese even figure out he'd bust out that acceleration when he never used it in the last fight? The hooded guy says he knows how to squeeze energy into a blast, and somehow that tells you he can do the same thing to rocket himself straight ahead. That clicks for Barca, so he fires off a second question straight away. Gaia's spiral gigglance, how does she even know it'll slip through his barrier? The hooded figure leans in again and says, it's actually pretty simple. She cooked up a bunch of test models with the honeycomb structure, then it was straight up trial and error from that point on. And she asks the boy if he finally gets how something can be this simple, and he just nods. Yeah, he understands. Turns out his drive to beat him wasn't even enough because he blew the one chance he had. Next time around, he'll absolutely crush that boy. A mysterious woman leans in and demands to know if the boy has any idea why she showed up to visit him. Barca presses a hand to his chest, yanks out the pendant she gave him and flings it back, so the woman has to spring up just to snatch it out of the air. She snaps that stone's way too pricey to be rented out, warns him to handle it with care, and the kid just shrugs, zero concern. Then the woman pressed him, asking straight up if he really used the stone while he fought her. The boy blurts out yes, and he's absolutely convinced the whole fight got caught on camera. And just like that, she walked off humming, because she'd finally gotten exactly what she wanted. Clocking that woman's evil grin. The boy blurts out, "So what are you planning to do with it?" The hooded figure snaps back that he only asked 2 questions, but she doesn't back down. She's already made her goal crystal clear: defeat Ruthless no matter what. And that's when he finally gets it. From the very beginning, their intentions were never aligned. And he finally snaps, "Who the hell are you?" Meanwhile, out on the training field, Reese was grinding through his routine alone, until he suddenly felt something coming his way. The moment he spots a projectile barreling toward him, he snaps his hand up and slams his shield into action. The second he spots the silhouette, he knows exactly who it is, and from the rooftop above he watches his master grin, praising his reflexes like they're legendary. He leans in and asks if that old witch is now in the royal capital, and he even calls her the Great Sage. But she snaps back, "That's not what I do at all." But yeah, she rockets in from the forest of Hades every single day, and the kid is shocked by how far it is, so he can't help but blurt out, "Why?" And she tells him she hasn't even sampled every sweet in the area yet, and the boy snaps back, warning her not to let candy wreck her precious 100-year streak of isolation. The political witch smirks and asks if he's jealous she's more interested in sweets than in him, then reassures him not to panic, because the whole reason she's there is to train her apprentice and teach them how to fight. Then the boy asks, "You really want to watch me fight?" And she answers, "Yes," praising him for how he handled that earlier attack like a champ. But she snaps that he's been leaning on his barrier way too much. Though she puts 2 and 2 together, he had to be watching that earlier duel. Then she warns him that leaning on the barrier to slip out of everything can seriously backfire, because if you use it too much, one day it could lead to a fatal accident. And she uses the duel's final round that day as her example. That barrier was completely pointless. One blast from the magic cannon was more than enough to obliterate Gaia's spear. She shoots him a question and her student answers with a quick, confident, "Yes, I understand." Right then, fear slammed into him. Seeing that magic up close was terrifying. The political witch seizes the moment to rip into him, clocking that the brave little man suddenly looks terrified. And tells him, "You've got to thank your opponent, he forced you to wake up and stop messing around so much." And the witch hits him with the bad news: his barrier still hasn't gotten any better. As she reaches out, she snaps, "There are 2. That duel didn't just fight, it tore open 2 of his biggest weaknesses." He hurled his weaknesses everywhere, but the fools around him were too clueless to catch it. Only the kid with the 4 attributes and a handful of teachers saw the truth. The boy shoots back that way more people know about it than she'd guess. Then when she asks what he means, he grins and says his rice seeds are sprouting. Maybe it's on him, something stupid, but it's way more fun that way, so he can't stop. Right behind the school, the director admits his job can hurt like hell sometimes. The teacher beside him prays his business trip was actually fun, but he snaps that it cost him Reese's duel, so he's furious. Then the teacher waves it off and tells him not to stress, because if he wanted that duel so badly, he should have just spoken up and asked for help. Since he watched that duel up close, he's about to drop a quick, detailed report, because the director swears Zest is just as dependable as ever. He lets the compliments roll in, but deep down he barely even cares. The director declares the battle was absolutely spectacular, and his employee backs it up like, "Yep, it really was." He's saying Reese was a real monster. He eased in at first, then flipped the switch and absolutely crushed his opponent in the end. His boss nods and says, "Yeah, that totally fits, especially when you take the magic cannon idea and reshape it into a whole movement technique." That kind of technique isn't something you just learn in a regular school, so he can't stop replaying the question, what brutal, hellish training did he really survive? So the teacher decides to press the question. If the Great Sage is truly that impressive, why does the director keep brushing off Reese's hard work like it doesn't matter? But the unhappy elf stares back at him, utterly lost and completely confused. The teacher says the great sage could be the perfect mentor, handing her disciple all her knowledge and power through brutal intensive training, yet the boy somehow takes every bit of it and powers through like a legend. And once more, he demands to know why the director refuses to even so much as acknowledge him. But the director's stuck and spirals into dead-end answers, circling the same point over and over. Seeing that, the teacher just drops the topic and apologizes, because he's convinced the director knows the subject inside out. Then he blurts, "I'm stuck in the middle of this project," and hustles straight for the exit. Before he leaves, he can't help but tell the truth. After seeing the boys' school performance, motivation hits him hard. He's thrown himself into the research so completely that he even forgets to eat. He shrugs it off like none of it even matters to the director, tells him he'll catch him later, then straight up walks out. But the second his employee walks out, the director hears a sharp knock, turns around, and there, in a hood, stands the mysterious figure. He leaned in and demanded to know if she pulled off the mission. Everything looks perfect with the Phantom Stone, well, almost, because there's one last thing we've got to double-check. With that, they finally kick off the next step. He can't hold it in any longer, and laughter bursts out of him. He erupts in wild cackles, yelling that he can't wait for it, and praying his old master shows him every last thing he knows. He's counting down every second, itching for the decisive day to finally arrive. Much later, Reese finally shows up again. While he trains, someone creeps up expecting it's Muriel, and he snaps back that it's been ages since she last dropped by during his sessions. Right as a spell crashes into him, the boy snaps his defense up, and then he sees it plain. It wasn't magic at all, it was a stone wing. He cranes around, hunting the shooter's position, then spots it coming from a mysterious woman, and blurts out who she is. But she doesn't answer, she just steadies herself and launches yet another attack. This time he's using fire, then it hits him, right in that moment. This girl has two insane traits. But she drops the idea of another strike and snaps that it's not fair, he's the only one spilling his secrets. Then she yanks her hood off, grinning as she vows, "Get ready, I'm about to show you who I really am." Turns out the mystery figure all along was none other than Muriel herself, who storms in and dares him to a duel. After digging around, they finally uncovered Muriel Woodrow, only to find her wrapped in one mystery after another. The research was handled by Cadna, but even after enrolling, she ghosts her classes so often that her classmates don't even know who she really is. She practically camps out in the campus library, non-stop memorizing the magic rules, and somehow never so much as gets a single warning. When Cadna confronted her professor about her, he waved her off with a shaky, vague excuse. At the entrance exam, she nailed the practical test with an almost perfect score, but her written score landed at just 70 points. Every single detail screams something shady. Even though it looks like she's masking her power, she strolls across campus like nothing at all is happening. She also keeps slipping into a forgotten, sealed-up magical training field, like it's calling her back every time. As Cadna leaped into Snoop, she instantly spotted multiple targets surrounding her. Those honeycomb barrier models that even include soundproof magic, they're basically a full-on research lab. She steps into the room and finds it stuffed with books, wall to wall, like a secret library waiting to be uncovered. That hits her hard. Muriel almost never comes back to the dorm, so this has to be the real deal, her true bedroom. This place is clearly built just for her, but she has no idea why they're treating her like royalty, because the truth hits when she's escorted in like someone important, even though she's a commoner with parents who run a merchant business and keep donating to the school. But none of that answers why she's getting special treatment, so Cadna can't stop wondering what's really going on. Trying to figure out Reese Lovis already felt like a headache, and now it's somehow even worse. Those models have her wondering if Muriel's chasing the top spot too, but if she really wanted that, why would she hide what she can do? It might just mean she's some wild magical research otaku, but Cadna admits she could be wrong. Even so, the truth still feels terrifying. But she's okay, completely okay, and there's zero reason to panic right now. Later in the cafeteria, things were about to blow up. The girl slams the table, blares that she heard Muriel and Reese are about to duel, and demands, "What the hell is happening?" The boy just shrugs and says, "Yeah, she challenged me this morning." And Lotto drops the truth like, "We're talking about this right now," then looks at her and asks, "Want to join us?" Then the girl plops down with the three of them and straight up asks what they were talking about with that duel, because to her, Muriel was trying to turn that boy into her lover. Reese blurts out, "Honestly, I have no idea why this is happening, I just don't get it." Lotto brags that his friend would shut her down in an instant just because she's a woman. Reese tells himself that the dream realm wipes out every injury, and that he's been honing his power by training with the political witch. And he even says it loud: if anyone dares to challenge him, he'll meet them with respect and come at them with everything he's got. Lotto swears he heard the headmaster himself is stepping in to commentate the fight, and now that duel is the hottest topic on campus. Everyone's staring at Muriel, but nobody has a clue who she really is, so they've branded her the mysterious fighter. Cadna can't help but think this duel has to be extra special because the headmaster himself just stepped in. She can't stop wondering who Muriel Woodrow truly is. Meanwhile, the girl slips into her room and then freezes, sensing something wildly off. She snaps awake and realizes someone just broke in. But she doesn't even flinch, she just sinks back in her chair and breathes out, finally relieved. Then she yanks the pendant off her chest, and there it is, the Fontaine stone. And then she snaps into watching the video of Reese fighting, saying that the moment she arrived, he was the only reason she started to truly appreciate being there. That first duel blew apart every single idea about magic she'd ever built. The speed was unreal, and the sheer number of projected magic circles was downright terrifying. Yet in a world where superiors stomp on inferiors, he just shrugs and throws out a basic defense spell. That's when she started falling for him, because the way he cast magic felt unreal. She hadn't felt anything like it since the first book her father handed her. To her, that boy was like a living magical book, every word spilling pure knowledge. And that hits her like a gut punch. Lotto's question: was she really only after his magic? And that's when she starts wondering, why does she even want to be his girlfriend? Of course, her real plan was to slip right into his orbit, get close to his power, and pry open the secrets of his magic. Now her heart is thundering in her chest, and all she wants is to pour that exact feeling into his hands. Right then, the girl flashes back to the moment she held his hand, and she blurts out that hers slipped away along the way. She was so rattled with nerves that the first thing she blurted out was, "So, will you go out with me?" And now she can't stop wondering, would she have said the exact same thing to anyone else? Right then, the director storms in and barks that the girl skipped class again just to show up here. Muriel calls him sensei, but when the students aren't around, the director snaps that she should switch to master. The girl snaps because changing titles over and over again is a total headache. But her master insists that this place runs under his control, and if anyone realized he'd taken a student as a disciple, chaos would explode. And ever since he forced her to enroll, he's been swallowing every petty demand she throws his way, so when she dodges the topic, she blurts out, "What does your master want here?" Then he declares the video review is finished, and now the only thing left is to put his theories to the test in a duel. He tells her to stop worrying because she knows exactly how to win, and she's already mapped out every move if things spiral out of control. As long as she doesn't mess up, the victory is locked in. Her master flashes a wicked grin and tells her he's counting on her. He also says tomorrow's the perfect day to drop a gift on someone's doorstep, and when they ask who, he just smiles and says he invited someone special to catch the duel, hoping they have a blast. Switching gears, the elf spots his student acting way more spirited than normal and leans in, asking if she's nervous about the audience. But the girl blurts a hard no, grinning because she's chomping at the bit to scrap with Reese while the crowd barely registers just scenery, and the director snaps that Muriel stays stone-faced as ever. He blurts out, totally stunned, that she actually likes Lovis. He used to think she hated people barging into her life, but now it's her who keeps crashing into his, and it drives him crazy. Then he leans in and asks her what she'll do next after she checks him out tomorrow. Muriel shoots back that she'll thank him for the chance, then instantly drops it and turns her attention to something else. And just like that, their relationship was over, done for good. Right then, her heart clenches for a split second. At last, the duel day slams into place. And suddenly, everyone surges into the Colosseum right when the doors open, and at the gate, Reese can't help wondering why they're all buzzing with excitement. Alfie storms in, rips into him, and tells him straight up that everyone in the crowd is cheering for him. Shield Boy leans in and fires off the question, "Are you one of those people?" right to his friend. And to his absolute shock, they tell him, "Yeah, this time you're really in." Alfie leans in and grills his friend about what he really thinks Muriel's odds of winning are. And Reese says it's impossible, like he even knows a thing about her or the two attributes she's got up her sleeve. Alfie shoots back that she might actually know the secrets of his magic cannon and acceleration, because she clearly understands exactly how those two spells tick. Alfie didn't have a clue until Reese finally broke it down for him, even though nobody had told her anything. The boy leans in and tells his friend, "What I know and what I can actually handle are two totally different things." And he's determined to charge straight into whatever hits him next. Now the moment of departure is here, before he steps out the door. Alfie roars, "I better win, no one else gets to drop me with one move," and Reese shoots him a nod saying he will. The show kicks off and the announcer blares the big moment. Reese Lovis is here, young, undefeated, and somehow the star behind all this chaos. And this time the guest commentator is none other than the school director. And to top it off, she's got a mysterious special guest waiting backstage. She has zero clue who it is. The guest slides in and calls herself a mysterious maiden, and Reese can't stop wondering why that political witch showed up here. Muriel, already on the battlefield, huddles with her friend and grabs the moment to ask if that little girl is exactly who she thinks. Then the boy nods and confirms, "Yeah, she's my master." That's the great sage, and the girl instantly gets what her master was trying to say. Seeing his smile from the commentator's table, she realizes, oh, he's playing everyone. Muriel says she pictured his anti-aging secrets, but Reese shuts that down, saying there aren't any, and then calls out the director for playing commentator. Right after that, the girl blurts out that he's her master, and Love's sure it can't be true. Looking back, his friend had casually spilled that he'd got a private tutor, and once she covers the mic, the witch leans in and drops the bomb that her student and her master student are the same age. The director tells the old lowly he's hoping she'll enjoy the show, and she shoots back, "I'll only know when I see what happens." Professor Zest is stepping in as the referee for this match. Everyone's buzzing with energy, absolutely hyped for the duel that's about to kick off. This is it, two beloved students are about to clash, and it's going to be legendary. Alright, hold up your breath because it's time to find out what's about to go down. It's a sharp twist on what people call a beloved student, the one the Lolita witch keeps saying. Now he pays closer attention and boom, he realizes Reese really is her favorite student, the way he talks and the spark of his personality hitting like a snapshot straight off the page. So he straight up asks her what it feels like to watch her own face during the duel, while that chaotic creature munches popcorn right beside them. The announcer snaps that this is the commentator's table and tells her if she wants to eat, she better yank the mic out of the way first. The fake young lady downs the last of her popcorn, then leans in and demands to know if the two are truly that alike. And she fires back, demanding to know if Dist Asterisk really believes that, because he's handled disciples way more times than she ever has. The headmaster shoots back, telling her that unlike her, not a single one of his students ended up inheriting his twisted personality. On the chaos of the battlefield, Muriel grabs Reese's attention and thanks him. And the boy snaps, "What the hell are you thinking?" But the girl just smiles and says she's grateful because he's letting her study him up close. And then he throws out a heartfelt apology for smashing his own unstoppable winning streak. I love how her tone is so confident it practically radiates off the screen. At last, after all that talk and non-stop stalling, the showdown is finally about to kick off. The shield boy leans in and asks if she's ready, and that lazy little brat smirks, "I've got one last thing to do." She tells him she can't explain why, but everyone keeps insisting that once she gets excited, she turns into a whole new person. Reese doesn't buy it, but by then, it's already too late. The starting signal is seconds from blasting through the air. The announcer, just as uselessly loud as ever, announces the fight is underway. Then the arena erupts in a massive flash of light, catching everyone off guard. He's already loading up the punch with pure manly force, and in the same breath he's like, "Okay, what's my friend really hiding from me?" He guns the throttle with pure acceleration, charging straight at Muriel, while she's already setting up her magic circle. She slams up a blazing fire barrier, and the boy is caught completely off guard. But since his magic never stops, he has to muscle through it. Then the boy crumples to the ground, thrashing and rolling to stamp out the flames. Right when he stops, a brutal spike rips up from the ground, Lance of Gaia, ready to skewer the poor guy. The kid keeps slipping out of danger, flipping backward again and again as wave after wave of lances thrust up from the ground. Just as he fires a repel explosion to blast himself off the ground, a fireball rockets in before he even gets a second to react. Lotto's crumpled as the blow slammed into him, straight into his worst despair. Still, Reese snapped a tiny shield into existence, just in time to block the hit and slip out without getting caught. The announcer loses it as the attacks fly back and forth, offense hits, defense counters, and the whole fight keeps snapping back and forth nonstop. The Lolita witch grins and says the girl fighting is insanely impressive, then reveals the trick. Acceleration needs a beat to hit full speed, and in that tiny window she sets up her counterattack. If that kid had hit full speed, the wall wouldn't have smashed him that badly, and Muriel tells her friend she's seen that power over and over, knowing exactly how it works. The announcer's like, "This is it, I've got to say something huge," and she fires off a comment about the girl using 2 magic attributes. But then it hits boom, insisting that she's got both earth magic and fire magic in her. Every single student who caught that comment just went, "No way, this is incredible." That's why Reese shoots her a compliment too. Turns out she's not just some magical taku after all. But the girl flashes this huge mischievous grin and swears she's not some random mystic at all, she's a magical taku. And honestly, she's even bigger of a nerd than he ever imagined. The boy cracks that if that's the case, he'll make her nerdy heart go even crazier, and the girl grins and tells him, "Go for it." Lotto scoffs at it all like it's pointless, and the clash keeps roaring on as Breeze surges forward again. She snaps up another magic circle and slams a stone wall into place with raw, unstoppable power. Lovis just springs over it, using his shield as a stepping stone, then braces himself, gauntlet up, as he readies for what comes next. But before he can make a move, the girl snaps her arm forward and blasts a lance of Gaia straight at him. But that doesn't faze him. He rams his fist straight into her spell and shatters the lance. Muriel snaps around and lashes out with her flame lance as a shield, and the protagonist throws his arms up just in time to block it. He slams onto the ground right after that, grumbling that his friend is making it brutally hard to reach him. Kadena can't believe it. She's stunned by how Muriel managed to wrestle control of the fight against ruthless. Lotto admits it's maddening to say it out loud, but yeah, she was smart and she was absolutely right. He can't shake the feeling that his friend is way more scared to step in than he ever was during that duel with Barca. Alfie then shrugs and says maybe Muriel slipped him some advice, but the blue-haired guy refuses to believe it. Meanwhile, Barca watches it all unfold and erupts with pure fury. Once again, they're caught in that wild rhythm, closing in, then yanking back like neither of them dares to blink. The girl calls forth spears to nail Reese, yet he whips his shield up, rockets through the air, and twists his path mid-flight. And as the clash unfolds, Lotto finally clicks on to the truth. That girl keeps repeating the same moves over and over, like nothing in her life ever changes. Alfie shrugs and says it's all because his friend is just weird in the most unpredictable way. Muriel keeps replaying the same setup, swapping tiny details to see what changes, and that idiot's right there, acting like he doesn't know exactly what's going on. Reese hardens his stance again, blocks yet another hit, gets shoved back a step, and then immediately decides to try something new. He locks in his acceleration and then barrels straight at Muriel again. And right when she spots him closing in, she slams a blazing wall of fire into the air, which he charges through headfirst, no fear, no hesitation, pure maniac energy. Everyone's stunned. This guy just plowed right through like he owned the place. But to the girl, none of that matters. He blew it the second he tried to use acceleration. With a spell called Seismic Wave, she rockets out of the attack just in time. Sent him hurtling straight at the barrier. But right before it happens, he snaps, whips around, and lunges toward the girl in a flash, who blasts him with an earthen diffusion cannon. She doesn't let him catch his breath. She launches the spell again, and this time it gets stopped right in its tracks. Then she backs away to keep her distance while Lovis fights through the damage and gets back on his feet. Nobody can wrap their heads around it. This kid just got clocked by an attack, and the moment everyone sees it, it's pure shock. Muriel erupts into wild laughter like she's totally lost it. Check out that crazy personality flip. Everyone jumps in shock as they stare at it, wide-eyed and frozen in place. At the commentator's table, the old witch locks eyes with her former student. Dist says he already warned her to kill that awful habit, then he stares in shock, because the witch snaps back at once, yelling that it was him who taught her. Seeing that, Reese finally gets what she meant by completely different, because she'd already been through a full-on metamorphosis. The girl blurts out how glorious his tenacity is, and admits she never thought she'd stumble into such a weird case right here at school. Her whole personality flipped in a way nobody saw coming. The girl blurts out that she finally cracked Reese's fatal weakness, and it rattles him more than he wants to admit. With a wicked glare she snarls, "This is the end, and your magic will never ever touch me." Shield Boy hated that discovery with a passion, and Alfie shoots in that Muriel really dug it up. This laughs right in the face of the chaos. Reese doesn't care one bit if she found it, he barrels straight toward her, and Lovis can't believe the idiot charges the enemy without even using acceleration. Muriel hurls every spell she's got, wall of fire, stone wall, Gaia's spear, and the boy just slips past them all. Excited, she points out how fast he is even without magic, then she snaps into a fresh attack in seconds. A blinding burst of light erupts, nearly scorching the boy's eyes, and he snaps his shield up to slam it in front of the crushing attack. Explosion, that's what they call it. One brutal strike hits so hard it actually buckles the pressure on his defenses. The girl blasts out a massive wave of flames, scorching the whole area bright, and then she grins. She just uncovered a fresh crack in his defenses after watching his duel against Barca. She conjures two magic semicircles and smashes them together, forging them into one unstoppable force. That was the Panzer bullet, an icy stone prism wrapped in roaring flames. Alfie spots what the girl's doing. She's stacking composite attributes to forge a brutal fire spell, so he snaps at his friend, shouting, "Don't try to block it, just get out of the way." That snap in his head drags Reese back to his master's warning, "Don't lean on that barrier too hard," but he still slams one up anyway, trying to catch the strike. His shield explodes into shards, and he still eats the entire hit head-on. A few years back, Dist strolled down the street when a younger kid lit up and said, "Morning work's over, now we've got to get back to school." Then boom came a brutal loud noise, and the teacher instantly snapped to the conclusion they were being attacked. Then Dist craned his head up and the truth hit him hard. A girl was soaring through the sky, flung out of a window like a rocket. The director snatched her mid-fall, stopping her from slamming into the ground, and when she finally caught her breath, charred all over, she muttered that she'd botched the landing again and thanked him anyway. Dist couldn't believe it, somehow that wild thing had landed right in his arms, and he found it insanely fascinating. The girl kept hammering away at her magic in her room until it detonated with a huge explosion, and the second her parents heard it, they burst in, panicked, ready to apologize. Zess then said the girl's parents founded the Woodrow Trading Company and reached out to the school to get a tutor who'd keep an eye on her. Turns out she's got two rare talents, but she's brand new to magic. Thinking back, he realized she wasn't just her looks, there was something razor-sharp in her eyes from that explosion, and it told him this went way deeper. She was so young, which meant that magic had to be self-taught, so yeah, he immediately promised he'd track down a tutor for her. Zess told him there wasn't a teacher available right then shot back, did he plan to hire someone fresh out of school? But Dist shuts it down, no one tutors him but himself. The moment he sees what's unfolding in the arena, it hits him like a flashback to the first day he ever met his disciple. Meanwhile, on the battlefield, the boy eats a direct hit, gets hurled by the spell's brutal force and slams down hard. Everyone freezes, clueless on what to do, because the only thing you can hear is the boy slamming into the ground. Silence crashes down and the announcer can't find a single word. He's frozen, stunned for a few heartbeats. Reese's barrier finally shattered after that advanced magic slammed into it. As soon as it hits the scene, people explode into non-stop comments and heated debates. Lotto is in total shock, he can't wrap his head around what just happened. The announcer scrambles for words to explain Muriel's magic until Dist just blurts it out, "Explosive magic. If you master 2 or more attributes, you can fuse them into powerful compound attributes. To pull this off, you need razor-sharp control over multiple elements, but the real secret is mastering fire and earth so perfectly together that they fuse into the fire explosion attribute. The old witch says this spell mixes blazing fire's brutal power with earth's crushing pressure, forging a super-aggressive attribute that can slice right through Reese's defenses." The announcer fires the question at her, since she's the only one who can explain the magic, and the witch nods, ready to spill the secret behind the defense spell. Then the honeycomb seals itself into a barrier that shatters the impact, sending the force scattering so it never gets broken. But here's the catch, if the hit lands in just one spot, there's nothing to spread the force, so it all crashes down at once. Still, no matter how brutal and bulky the Lance of Gaia and the Flame Lance were, they still couldn't smash through Reese's barrier. It all came down to the Panzer bullet's brutal firepower, pinpointed with the perfect thickness, enough to punch straight through. That's the miracle everyone's been chasing for so long. Alfie hears the girl's comment about his friend, and suddenly he realizes she's got way more going on than he ever guessed. For a whole decade, the truth of the Reese's master gnawed at him like a curse, And while he was stuck in that storm of thoughts, Lattice snapped back into action, trying to yank his friend's attention away from the battlefield. And when it finally happens, everyone turns on him. He's asked why he looks so terrified, while the blue-haired one presses him with, "Why aren't you worried?" Muriel figures even after a clean hit, that pest still wouldn't go down, and Alfie admits he got worried, just for a blink, before Define Expectations pops back up right then. To beat him, you'll need something far more powerful than anything you've brought so far. Muriel's buzzing with excitement the second she lays eyes on it. Can you blame her? To her, that was just unreal, because even after getting hit head-on by intermediate magic, he still stood there, unshaken. That terrifying energy of his has her hooked, so she tells him to take it easy, just to poke at him a little more and see if her next theory holds. The boy shoots back, "That sounds great," then immediately drops the act. He doesn't care one bit about what she wants. Looks like this time her actions absolutely blew his fuse. Muriel declares that her curiosity matters more than victory, and that her quirks are anything but traditional. They could gulp in outside energy in its raw, unprocessed form. Lados is totally clueless about what his friend is even talking about. So Alfie leans in and asks, "Do you remember when Reese got blasted by that dispersed stone cannon?" The first strike slammed into him, but he snapped his guard up in time for the second wave, so at first he figured Reese had just made a rare mistake. But think about it, there's no way he could have thrown up a barrier for that first hit, even if he'd tried. Because every last spark of magic had finally run out. Lados blurts, "This is ridiculous. If you're out of magical power, then how in the world did you raise that second barrier?" So Alfie leans in and asks, "Do you know how mages get their magic power back?" Cadna snaps back that she can breathe in magic from the air, pulling her own attribute from the outside to refill what's inside, and if she drains every last bit of power, she'll need a few nights to recover. So once that's clear, Lados drinks in the water attribute while Cadna grabs the air attribute. What you absorb is decided by the magic inside you. At last, the blue-haired boy finally clicks. He understands exactly how the attribute resubsorbs. Alfie grins and boom, Lovis can refill his magical power with just one single breath. If you don't have a defined attribute, then nothing limits you, so he can grab any outside resource and turn it straight into his own energy. Reese gushes that his friend is seriously impressive, especially compared to her master, because she's the very first person to figure it out. The girl praises him for being so honest, and the boy admits he never thought anyone could get him that fast. When he heard it, he nearly snapped. Finally, they crack the truth that a person with no magical gift can snap their magic back instantly, and it's a mind-blowing discovery. The old Lolita witch swears you can only make sense of it all because of the boy's wild, flashy stunts. When he sees it, Zest finally gets it, only he could have cracked the whole thing. You can crank up how much energy you recover from training, but he was the only one brave enough to test that claim. Someday, everyone's going to wake up and see the truth, and the world will never look at non-attributed defensive magic the same way again. The professor can't stop wondering how many students are catching it right this second. But Muriel adds with real heartbreak that having such a low magical capacity is brutally unfortunate. Reese finally clicks, his friend caught it too. Cadna blurts, "What are you talking about?" Because that magical measuring tool just told her he's packed with an insane amount of magical power. Alfie says that if she's talking about that tool, then there's a specific trick to make it work. The first result is his real magical power. Muriel admits she'd been thrown off for ages because his magic left her baffled until the duel with Garces finally snapped everything into place. That cursed limit chained the magic cannon's power, so he had to smash through the rest of the fight with a plain old punch. Right then it hit her, he'd completely run out of magic. Reese's magic power is shockingly weak, so far beneath even a regular mage that it's worse than the average person who can't even use magic. His power only lasts 3 reflections or 1 brutal burst of acceleration. After that, all he's got left is a single barrier, that's it, all from 1 breath of magic. And since his magical tank is tiny, everyone can basically predict every single move he'll make. That's why his fighting style doesn't rely on planning, it lives or dies on the second he reacts, and that exact instinct is his deadliest flaw. Everyone goes dead quiet the moment they hear it, everyone except Dist, who grins like a villain with sadistic joy. Muriel finally snaps out of the conversation, grins and says, "That was fun," then seals the moment. Because this is how her magic tome, titled *Luvis***, ends, and the boy can't help but ask what she meant. Then out of nowhere she unleashes an explosion spell, its fiery spark comes charging straight for him. He doesn't even get a chance to use his barrier, so he just slips away from it with quick dodges. Just as he dodges that one, another panzer bullet rockets in after him, and he has to sprint again. As she unleashes attack after attack on the boy, she taunts him that dodging is all he's got, and she can't wait to see just how long he can keep sprinting. What started as a fair, even showdown has flipped, now it's totally one-sided. Alfie blurts out that he never thought Muriel would be this deadly at handling composite attributes, and honestly that shocks him the most in this whole fight. Lados finally snaps at his friend's calm vibe and demands, "How long are you planning to stay like that in a situation like this?" Meanwhile, Reese keeps slipping past every strike and firing back every nasty comment, all while that boy gets stuck in a deadlock. He finally admits it, his old master's disciple is something special, and there's no way their arrival won't shake up the future of magic. But it looks like Muriel is way more than the poor guy can handle, yet when he locks eyes with that old Lolita witch, he sees a grin spreading across her face. On the battlefield, that poor guy is sprinting for his life while flames practically chase him down, licking right at his heels. And realizes, honestly, he totally underestimated her. The only one his age who ever drove him this far was Alfie, and he still can't wrap his head around how flawlessly that girl moved to take him down. Even that duel with Barca, yep, she pulled the strings and planned it all. And he can't wrap his head around it, how someone who looks so dead inside could have orchestrated all of this. Even in a mess like this, excitement claws at him, so he casts Reflection. That beam glows almost exactly like the magic cannon, but from this far out he's powerless to do a thing. So the boy snaps his attack straight toward his own body. Muriel stood there, stunned, speechless, while the announcer froze in shock, got dissed, then lit up with thrills, and the old master, you couldn't even spot him because she's so tiny. To the whole world, it looks like the boy just blew up, but Alfie knows exactly what really happened. Someone finally pushed past his limit, but if he wants to win, he's got to become way stronger. The Lolita witch lets out a shocked "I'm impressed," because they forced her pupil to pull that off, yet right then Muriel is losing it with full-on panic. He fired a magic cannon straight at himself, and boom, he blew to pieces, and it makes absolutely no sense to her. She starts spiraling in her thoughts, hunting for answers and forcing the logic to finally click. And then he spots that scar on his chest, and panic crashes in like a wave. Reese shoots an apology over his shoulder, and right on cue, a blinding burst of light crashes across the battlefield. Now that he's taking this seriously, he's pulling out Transcend. Muriel's jaw drops as Reese surges past the limits, tearing through the air with raw, world-shaking magic. A brilliant glow bursts from the boy's body, swelling into a blinding surge of light. Then, out of nowhere, the enchantment around him snaps and shatters with terrifying force. Suddenly, the power he unleashes rips open the air, and a mechanical arm shoots out while his back and chest stay wrapped in magic, forging even a wing. With a robotic part bolted on and a power core blazing in the center of his chest, he strides up and dares Muriel Woodrow. He wastes zero time, he rockets straight at her with every ounce of speed he can steal from the air, and she panics, swallowing hard as he charges faster and faster straight toward her. Reese lunges with the momentum, firing off an acceleration boost to slam his strike even harder. Without missing a beat, Muriel spots the trick right away, then she fires her power straight into the ground and the whole area erupts in a brutal wave of tremors. He drives a punch into the arena floor and with that impact keeps himself hovering, slipping just enough to dodge getting thrown out. The opponent's jaw drops in pure shock. She snaps into action and fires the Panzer bullet like a storm of bullets at him, but Reese fights back. He slams up a massive magic shield. The shards detonated the second they slammed into the barrier he forged, then thick smoke erupted, swallowing the area and clouding his face. The young woman looked completely hooked on studying the layers he built to stop the bullets, and after her own careful verdict. There's no way he could possibly burn that much energy. But Reese leans in and drops the real move. He's got a trick up his sleeve, and since she's so sharp, she's probably already clocked it. With blazing, shining eyes, Muriel declares it's nothing mystical, just the magic cannon paired with pure acceleration. One of the professors is left speechless because the self-inflicted wounds on Reese are actually a power booster, while both she and Master Ba are stunned at what they're seeing. Muriel's storming with rage, she just has to know how that could have happened. She screams for answers and demands Alfie spell it out, because he's the only one who knows everything and he's the only one who can explain what they just witnessed. With calm intensity, he breaks it down. That magic cannon isn't just for show, it fires a spell that refills magical power, powered by the rules of the magical light phenomenon. Muriel's words bored him to tears. Apparently this power is only for high-level mages. Reese points to the way his feet remember, then explains the spell kicks in like a power compressor inside his body, shoving energy in so it can snap outward fast. A simple diagram flashes on screen and he leans in, saying these factors make it feel flat-out impossible for Reese to have pulled off something that massive. Muriel seems to catch the truth right away. The whole mystery boils down to compression. She's convinced Reese can just compress magical power and force it into his own body. Rage burning in her chest, Kabina demands to know how anyone can squeeze a magic cannon from the outside and cram it into their own body without dying. But then it hits her, he can pull power from an outside source because he's got no attributes at all. Sharp as a razor, she finally clocks the whole move, how he used that device to pull off the trick. As she recalls every detail, she sees his hands again, and realizes he let out a tiny burst of energy that never once could be pulled back in. Alfie nods and confirms straight up, yeah, that's exactly what went down. He realizes Reese pulled off something brutally hard just by going for a transcendence technique, and right then, Muriel's rage erupts. But Lotto's is grinning, convinced Reese cut her some slack. Alfie shuts that down on the spot, insisting Reese never got the chance to push things any further. Then Reese bursts out screaming at them, "Don't mess with me." Bragging through a grin, he insists it's totally understandable that everyone's stunned by what he pulled off. While everyone else dismisses his warnings, Muriel gets completely swept up, spellbound, buzzing, and absolutely itching to dig deeper into his magic. He clearly isn't thrilled by the girl's smile, but she doesn't even flinch. And keeps flirting, telling him she can't stop staring, how strong he is, and how the scar on his chest proves he took the magic's hit and still stood there. Still grinning, he leaned in and asked, "So now you're frustrated that I just wrecked every strategy you had lined up?" Unbothered, she shrugs and says it was all worth it just to witness his magical talent. Then, with an ominous edge, he shoots back like, "So you really mean that?" And before she can react, he charges back toward her at full speed, like he's trying to crush the distance between them. Shocked by how fast she moves, she slams on that secondary massive acceleration and lands a clean, crushing hit on him in one strike. Right then, Muriel hurls her spell, and as she watches, she can't help wondering if he's chaining those boosts in order to twist his direction. An iron-fisted punch slams into her, and the force sends her rocketing through the air. He watches her rip through the sky like a flash of lightning. Like a cat, she drops right into place, landing perfectly on her feet, buzzing with pure exhilaration from the fight and that brutal blow. Even after taking the hit, Muriel can't stop buzzing with excitement over the spells flying at her. Restless, she demands more and slams into him again, ripping more magic from her fingers as spell after spell hits, and he's stunned by just how viciously she keeps going. Then bam, an earth-shattering explosion detonates in the courtyard and a wall of smoke erupts, blinding everyone on the spot. Ba stands in front of the Grandmaster and dares him, staring him down without blinking. Like a bolt of realization hit her, she leans in and asks, "Wait, doesn't the Grandmaster think she's evil?" With a smirk and those innocent eyes that practically pull you in, she leans over and demands why the young woman thinks that. Ba can't forget the instant Reese transcended, like everything inside the world just flipped into a whole new level. She knew his young, untrained body couldn't handle that technique for long. So the other teacher can't help but wonder, was the Grandmaster running this whole thing as an experiment from the very start? He snaps back, saying we're jumping to conclusions. She tells him she never handed over any secret techniques, she only shared what she knew and the training methods to back it up, and Ba still can't shake his doubts. So the wise one remembers the day she left him by himself, then came back to find him sprawled in horror, coughing up blood, with a massive wound ripped across his chest. That day she didn't punish him, she patched up his injuries. Then during their talk she admitted the ordeal was brutal, and with a sly smirk she asked if he truly thought he could survive it. Right away he declared, "I've already trained for this," and swore he knew exactly what would hit him the moment he accepted her offer to become her disciple. Still replaying her memories, she insists she was just trying to help, while he went on testing the other powers by himself. She ends her argument by declaring that a master's real job is to ignite the trail their student is desperate to walk. No matter which route it takes, she presses her point hard, asking Ba to back down and admit she's right. Ba questions again and again whether the Grandmaster really never taught her a single skill, because right in front of her eyes she just can't shake the feeling her colleague is lying. Right in the thick of the explosion's dust, Reese bursts back out, totally unshaken, and charges in for round 2. Racing straight at Muriel, Ba suddenly gets hit with a brutal realization. All this time she might have already known that ability, and now she's spiraling, wondering if she's been choosing not to see it. Right away, the Grand Master clocked Reese's potential, but she got left behind anyway. Boss snaps to the truth, she's not cut out for teaching at all, and then right as she realizes it, another explosion tears across the battlefield. Muriel can't help but think the whole fight has lost its meaning. Deep down, she already knows this fight has done exactly what it needed to, and she's not even trying to win. But as she hears him shout her name again, she can't help wondering why she keeps swinging at him. She grins at him, beaming, and right then Reese blurts out that she reminds him of himself. Back when he was still young, before he ever met Alfie. Everyone's staring at him, shocked, like, what happened to make him start rambling like that? He goes on to say that if it weren't for that guy, he'd still be trapped in the Hades forest, same fate as her, buried under a mountain of books. Muriel can't make sense of any of this, and Rise presses on, saying he has no clue whether she still wants to be his girlfriend. And with a sly grin, she taunts him like she knows she can still steal the title and keep being his rival. The young woman just freezes, staring at him like she can't make sense of what she's seeing. He goes on to say it like it's gospel, having a rival beat sitting there and just reading books any day. Which makes the girl lose interest, so she challenges him to beat her first. And he fires back, promising he'll do it, then the clash between them explodes back into motion. This is the moment of truth, when they both snap and go all out. Once again she hurls bullets at him, faster than the first volley, cutting through the air like pure danger. The boy's face lights up, he's absolutely buzzing with excitement. He barreled toward her like nothing could stop him, weaving through her wildest, most dangerous powers. With rocket-fueled fists blasting through the air, Muriel grips tight and screams at him to take that magic right now. As she fires off yet another spell, her raw power detonates the air, causing a brutal earthquake that blows everything sky-high. Everything gets swallowed by the fog and explodes into the air. Zest-sensei stares like a total maniac, soaking up the weird vibes while the two of them keep trading hits with pure strength and wild excitement. A massive energy ring traps them in its glow, and Reese barrels forward again, super mechanical arm blazing with power. And it doesn't even make her blink. By now everyone's tearing their hair out, why not just stop already? Ba's hands tremble with worry as she snaps, "Hey," and calls out to her student. Lotto seethes with jealousy because those two act way too comfy around each other, and Cadna's not better, she's jealous too, and she basically tells Lotto's, yeah, it's annoying as hell. Remembering she's already long past the days when magic was just a game. Exhaustion hits hard, Muriel feels her strength and stamina draining out of her body fast. Still she's determined to smash Reese and wipe that smug grin off his face. She blasts the flame cannon, and she can feel her limit coming crashing down. The boy can't get near him, so he whips in a fast dodge to slip past. Still, he drives his fist forward and reaches farther than he ever normally could. Storming out, he left the girl absolutely furious. He fires up the magic cannon again, unleashing another blast. With sheer crushing force, he launches her into the air, she goes flying. Already down on the ground, Muriel feels completely shattered in the middle of the fight. Forcing her to trade quality for pure volume, she sprays even more bullets straight at him. Dozens and dozens of attackers smash headfirst into the giant protective barrier Reese throws up, and nothing gets through. Seeing it finally works, satisfaction hits him hard. Locked in his fighting stance, he realizes his plan just can't outmuscle the spells. But he still has a shot, because from where he stands, the showdown is almost over. Refusing to quit, he steels himself for the final strike and declares, "Now's the time we end this." Believing he has no choice, he turns to his companions and faces them head-on. Right then, everyone feels it, his power is slipping away, and Alfie realizes the magic is finally running dry. Reese finally hits the moment he's been waiting for his whole life. To beat them, Muriel knows she's got to make one lightning-fast, razor-sharp choice. Unable to stay quiet, the professor snaps and yells at her, trying to smash through the barrier. He can feel it, she's seconds away from unleashing her trump card, and the girls explode into cheers for Reese. Fresh blazing glow erupted from his chest. The young man fires up and recharges his magic one more time. And just like that, it all hits Muriel like a curveball, and she's left totally shocked. Alfie leans in and says that the acceleration wings don't just fly, they crank up the magic too. Once transcendence kicks in, he can keep battling for as long as his body can hold out. Muriel finally admits it, then she locks eyes with him, staring in straight-up awe. She may not be able to block him, but she's got a razor-sharp plan to end him, because all it takes is for him to strike first. Reese can't stop wondering if using the Eisenfaust would just be a waste of time. Meanwhile, on the other side, she's already loaded up with every ounce of magic she's got. Muriel refuses to cut him any slack. Then they both storm ahead with everything they've got, while Reese raises his arm, unleashing his final trump card. A violent gust and crushing pressure slam toward him like a wave about to hit. When those two powers slam together, an impossible force erupts, and the world gets rocked by the biggest explosion of all. Zess-sensei is utterly rattled, and the masters are left speechless by the crazy thing they just witnessed. Cadena and Lados are seething with anger, yet panic grips them because that boy's fate has them both on edge. Muriel keeps hammering at him, hunting for the kill shot, the kind of finishing strike he won't ever be able to block. Then right inside that choking gray cloud, his fist suddenly punches through the darkness. A terrifying force barreled forward, unstoppable and merciless. She didn't even get a second to think. Just spotting that tiny smirk hiding behind the super attack. Realization hit, he'd channeled the blast's energy and magic straight into himself. Muriel realizes she has to strike back right now if she wants to break free. Reese is bouncing with pure excitement, he's going all in. Finally, the brawl goes still, and the two lock eyes as they shake hands. Still wearing that cheeky grin, Reese darts away and skips the handshake at the very last second. Even after admitting she'd had a blast fighting him, the young woman tells him to come face her again someday, and when she asks, he grins and says absolutely, excited out of his mind. And just like that, they're officially rivals now, no turning back. Even without the girls, everyone else looks like the battle's final hit landed perfectly, peace at last, and relief on every face. The whole arena shakes with the sheer shock of what they just saw. Reese Lovis is officially crowned the winner, BAHAH. The crowd erupts in applause for his hard-earned success. Admitting no doubt he was absolutely magnificent. She spun around, then quietly realized the young man had just blown her away with his skills. Teasing the old master, Ba asks if he'll one day become the great sage, and she snaps back that he's got a long way to go before he can ever replace her. Then she barrels right into her next thought. Swallowing her pride, she lets Muriel's future play in her mind, right down to the young woman's incredible gifts. I still remember the first time she spotted that little girl lost among the books, giving her heart and soul to master magic, and now she's finally on the road to becoming a legendary researcher. If this keeps going, we're on the exact right road. With her mind drifting, she remembers that sweet moment when she walked up to Muriel and asked if she wanted more than books could ever give. With wide eyes and a brave little voice, the small, curious girl said she wanted to know everything, nothing less. That's how it all kicked off. Then the master marched her straight to the school, and once she could finally see everything clearly, she realized the truth. As a master, he never once got it wrong when he chose her. Just when the moment feels ordinary, the old master cuts in on a burst of curiosity, praising Muriel for becoming exemplary and crediting Ba for raising her right. She swallowed hard and admitted it. No matter how seasoned she was, she never once expected someone to bully her boy into using transcendence like that. The professor burst into laughter, completely caught off guard, like he didn't expect that at all. And he mocked the recognition she'd just been handed by the old master. Still, the young woman is too wrecked to stand, so they haul her off the field on a stretcher, and Reese just watches her get carried away. Right beside him, Zess-sensei suddenly materializes and starts talking like, I can't believe transcendence comes with zero risk. Suspicious, he fires back, aren't the principal's disciples supposed to be monsters of strength? Then he turns and storms off without waiting for a reply. With a look full of awe, he just murmurs again like, no joke, she really is that amazing. The school courtyard lies completely empty. Muriel drags herself out of bed, still half sleepy, and it's obvious she's not fully awake yet. Her master leans in and asks, so are you waking up? At last, the girl admits, full of regret, that she lost, and Ba leans in, asking how it felt to clash with the great sage's disciple. Muriel practically glows with pride, because that kind of battle was straight up beyond anything she ever dared to dream of. Still, she admits it, there's a new pain gnawing at her now, and it has nothing to do with the duel. The teacher cuts in, saying she almost never gets this furious, and that shocks her just as much as it does everyone else. But Ba breaks it down this time. For the first time, the girl goes up against a magician from her own generation, and that twist changes everything. After he thanked his master for the praise, she dodges the topic and blurts out, "Wait, this is huge. I need to ask you something really important. Give it 3 days, then it's go time." The teacher slams out the news that a brand new transfer student has just arrived in the noble class. Muriel Woodrow strides into the classroom and introduces herself to everyone. Fighting the urge to stay, she blurts out, "Why did this happen?" The school and the headmistress just flat out decided that was exactly where she belonged. He helps her pick a seat in the classroom, then she suddenly spins and jabs her finger at some random boy's desk. She tells him to either give up the seat or face her in a duel, warning him that if he won't move, she'll drag him into a fight. Reese, one of the students, looks totally thrown off when he spots her, so he shoots his question and she grins, admits she's into that subject, then drops into a seat. Later, she finally admits to herself, somewhere deep down, she's aching to know more about the boy she fought. He fixed him with a soft, reassuring stare. The boy's face flushed as he got completely lost and embarrassed right on the spot. He went inward, turned his face away, and still couldn't shake the thought she was a formidable opponent. Cadna watches him like, "Whoa, that guy's got main character energy, way too much of it." Lotto scratches out words in her diary, but her mind is miles away. She was pacing the school courtyard, biting her nails over exams, when bam, Reese appeared out of nowhere and she sprinted toward him, desperate to kick off a conversation. But then he spotted someone else beside him, and it hit him all at once. Turns out the rumor about Muriel joining the noble class was real, straight up confirmed by that insane duel. Her only shot at joining them is to ace the final exams, no room for mistakes. With laser focus and unshakable will, she's decided, no matter what, to go get exactly what she wants. As Muriel, Alfie, Cadna, and Reese stroll through the courtyard, they're chatting it up like they've got secrets to spill. Alfie blurts out they can't touch the training area because everyone's trapped in exam mode, grinding nonstop. Therese, come on, that's obvious as day, because they're literally at a magic academy. Cadna then drops another reason he should thank her, because she keeps saving the day and somehow she always finds a solid spot for him to train. Still, he freezes in disbelief the moment he sees just how packed everything is. And that's when the girl snaps in, explaining that duels are totally banned during exam season. Cadna whips her gaze around the room, totally stunned by what she sees. At last, she exhales a long sigh, soaking in the arena's electric pressure, even though there isn't a fight. But Reese keeps poking at her, and it doesn't take long before irritation flares, because he won't let her pretend she's not terrified of duels. With his clown act still blazing, he summons a handful of stones and starts juggling them like it's a show. As always, Muriel's eyes flare with excitement, amazed the boys using defensive magic just to mess around and have fun. Of course, she's wondering how he can casually throw magic at something this pointless. While Cadna watches, she demands to know why Reese keeps messing around and won't pay attention to the light Alfie is blasting. Then one of the stones smacks Muriel right on the head and he's clearly not ignoring it. He spots a bunch of girls crowding around Alfie's, hungry to watch him unleash his power, and while that hits him like a punch, he swears to himself he's not jealous, then loses control and lets even more stones rain down on Muriel. Then he finally admits to himself that, yeah, he's insanely jealous, and it makes his blood boil. Still trying to steady his nerves, he drags in a deep breath and tells himself over and over that he's the #1 student in his first year. So he stares at the logic and goes, if Alfie's only third and they're already treating him like this, then I should be swimming in girls. Caught in a full-blown identity crisis and convinced he's ugly, he barely even notices 2 girls closing in on him. Muriel catches them with a razor-sharp glare, and they immediately back off from the boy. With a sly smile, she cups his head and tells him, "This is better, trust me," then presses the question, doesn't he agree this will help him focus and power through his training? Cadna clocks the jealousy instantly and calls it out, saying Muriel is spot on, those girls don't care about magic at all, they're just trying to take advantage. Right as they claim they don't even want to learn magic, someone blurts out a desperate plea, begging Reese to teach them his techniques. To everyone's jaw-dropper of a surprise, it's this stubborn little kid. He swears the young man is his final hope, and Reese can't believe the hope is actually a guy. The boy admits he barely scraped his way into the noble class and that the next exam is going to be the final hammer that knocks him out for good, so Reese presses him and asks, "What's your name?" He shoots back with pure indignation, "I'm Tom, the one who's always sat right next to you in class." Yeah, he used to just sit there until somebody swiped his spot. Now the young man finally remembers who he's up against. Proudly, he agrees that since he's at the top of the class, he can at least throw Reese some real advice, yet deep down, Reese still hesitates. As Tom shows off his skill, a sharp dread hits me about the kid's future. No idea why, but I start digging into the details right away. He starts blurting out that the magic is way too fast and totally out of control, but before he even finishes, the boy clears it up cleaner this time and then actually admits, yeah, it wasn't bad. Reese can't shut off his mind, leans in close and studies Tom's face like he's trying to crack the truth, because Tom looks utterly miserable. With a sudden epiphany snapping into place, Reese decides that if fate won't let him be popular, then this kid is doomed to be a loser too. Out of nowhere, Tom's voice cracks. He gets choked up and starts laying his heart bare, swearing his parents and siblings are all better than him. He spills the truth, like even when he pulled top grades at school, the people at home still laughed at him and tore him down. And it breaks his heart. He admits that even after he finally rose into the noble class, his own family still insisted it had to be some terrible mistake. Now Tom digs in with pure determination, dead set on proving once and for all that they're wrong, because yeah, he really does have power. Reese shuts him down mid-sentence, snapping that he's done with that sob story no more. He labels it a loser's monologue, then snaps at Tom to stop talking and start training. Alright, he's in, so he leans forward and tells them to kick things off by sprinting. Days drag on and then, boom, the day of the school exam finally hits. In the courtyard, the teachers stand ready, grading everyone's tests while Alfie battles through his own. Inside the classroom, Reese, Muriel, and Tom wrestle with the written test, eyes heavy and spirits worn down, but one person stays fearless. Lotto's finishes first, like she already knew she'd nail it. At last, the results slap onto the board and names line up. Reese beams because his name is back in first place, while Alfie broods, furious he couldn't beat him again. Even so, the young man can't ignore it. Cadna and Alfie never budge from their spots, and it's obvious why. They're winning with top grades and sharp practical skills while he's getting left behind in the academic race. Still, he can't afford to slack off, because he knows his edge comes from studying under the great sage, and he's honest about it. Her lessons had a few cracks, especially when it came to what the textbook actually said. So he decides to relive what she taught him and review it all over again. As he scanned the board, he clocked it. Tom was ranked among the very best in the class. Suddenly, Lotto's bursts in and hijacks his thoughts. She's grinning like something amazing just happened. With a stiff grin, he blurts out that she did amazingly well, so Lotta's beams, points at her name, and declares she didn't just perform, she landed right under Muriel in the rankings. But she realizes the young woman held back and didn't show her full strength. She was hungry for even higher scores too. Still a bit awkward, she praises him for crushing the essay test, but Reese can't figure out what she's really trying to pull him into. Finally, Lotto leans in and says she's ready to make her request. The boy stares at her, eyes burning with curiosity. Then she drops her crazy idea, a progress battle where the regular class's top fighter clashes with the noble class's bottom, and whoever wins swaps places with the loser. Lotto's kicks her plan into gear, while Reese racks his brain over who's stuck at the very bottom of the noble class. And yeah, that guy is Tom. That girl plans to outpace him and beat him down in their duel. Reese even nods along, because deep down he can't wait to get rid of the kid. Lotto looks satisfied and flat out says she's not going after all of them. Just as the conversation is about to end, someone snaps in, covers Reese's eyes, and dares him to guess who's there, and of course it's Muriel, who immediately turns it into a full-on scene, pushing Reese to the edge when she says something completely unexpected. Right then, Lotto's gets shoved back into the shadows, ignored again. But in the middle of all the noise, the teacher suddenly calls her name, and she snaps that the young woman's family sent her a letter, so she has to report to the student assistant's office. Lotto's face snapped into shock, and worry hit hard as the urgency slammed down. As she strolls past the students, she totally misses the fact that Reese is hunting for her. Finally, she stumbles into her room to change, looking wiped out, then peels off layer after layer, even the compression wrap that holds her airbag system steady. She clenches them tighter and feels it. Somehow, they're getting bigger by the second. That thought gnaws at her nonstop, and it makes her wonder if she should have been born a man. Then, curled up on her bed, she stares at the ceiling, stretching her hands upward as regret and doubt crash through her head. She snaps a tiny magical shield into place on the ceiling, just like Reese taught her. She can't stop thinking about him, keeps replaying his face in her mind and swears she'll be with him in the noble class soon. Latos is head over heels and she keeps daydreaming about what it'd feel like to be right next to him, holding hands, walking close and being his girlfriend. Just thinking about it sends her into pure euphoria. And she snaps at herself because in the end it's just a fantasy. She's got to stay laser focused on replacing her brother, the one who died 10 years ago. At last, she digs into her bag and pulls out the letter she grabbed from the principal's office, the first one she's gotten since the fight with her father back home. Latos snaps into fury over the document, then keeps reading anyway, stunned by every line as her thoughts spiral back to her father. Then just like that, a few days fly by. Everyone's packed in for the progression battle, Latos versus Tom, while Muriel wakes up from the worst night ever, swaying like she can barely hold herself together. Leaning into Katana's side, Reese mulls over what this duel means to him, and then he can't shake the question, can Lidas really pull off a win? Tom storms into the arena first, and throws himself into the fight with everything he's got. Reese breaks it down and calls it a guaranteed win for Lattice, even if that boy happens to be nobility. He can't help but find it weird, she still hasn't jumped up to the noble class, so he figures it's gotta be something with her body holding her back. Right as he's about to speak, Latos bursts in. She's already on the bleachers, and the whole crowd goes quiet, shocked she actually showed up. The girls lean in and basically demand, "Aren't you supposed to be in the arena right now, getting ready for that match?" She insists that in the usual class nobody should be above her, but then admits priority got handed to another student. Alfie blurts out, "Wait, what does that even mean?" The teacher reads the document to reveal the opponent and something feels off, so off, but he doesn't press it because it's stamped and signed by the head of the order. Then she blurts out the name Tara Wolech, a first year, and the whole group explodes in outrage like, who the heck is that? Muriel drops a bombshell. She says she knows everyone at that school and she's never once heard of this guy. Latos acts like he's already figured out exactly who he is. From the arena, he locks eyes with her, and in that single heartbeat their stares collide as she shoots him a look so furious it screams, "You're back." Then Terrier Wolech bursts onto the scene, ready to throw down in the battle. In the bleachers, everyone goes dead silent the moment he shows up, like his presence somehow turned this into the strangest moment imaginable. Reese can't stop wondering, will Tom even make it out alive? No, that guy isn't just some random, he's the real deal. Right here, the duel is about to explode into action, get ready. His rival whips a ball of wind right at him and everyone else is like, whoa, did you see how fast that came? But the kid doesn't hesitate, he knows the move perfectly and then he tears into it, blasting his magic right away. He's unleashing the water imprisonment power to protect himself, because this magic is usually meant to trap the enemy, not guard the user. The young man keeps unleashing that insane skill like it's unstoppable. His rival is starting to panic over all this, but Terrier doesn't care one bit. The startled boy scrambles to defend himself, fires back with everything he's got, and then launches his ability straight at the other boy. And just like that, he totally blows everyone away. The kid clenches his jaw, fights to win, and blasts his wind cannon straight at him. Then the boy hurls everything he's got into the shot. But it changes nothing. No matter what he tries, that barrier won't crack, and now it feels like the universe is laughing at him. Terrier grips the entire flow of the water and steers it like it's his to command. By mastering that current, he slams the brakes on every single spell, sending all of his opponent's magic straight back. His classmates swear that move is pure martial artist technique, and they can't wrap their heads around how he never trained back in the noble class. People keep asking why those attacks feel like they're doing absolutely nothing. Then bam, the boy hurls a lash of water at his rival and the rival snaps back with a fresh ball of wind. And somehow, with seconds to spare, he barely scrapes past the attack, dodging just enough to survive. The warrior stays locked inside his protective sphere, half-lidded eyes brimming with calm, like he's already sensing the next strike coming. Panic claws at Tom as he stares around, desperate to figure out what the heck is happening. Terrier looks like a nightmare on legs, ready to smash and defend at once, and with no clue what else to do, the boy just keeps firing wind balls back to back. Tom grinds his way through it, but he can already feel defeat closing in. Desperation hits hard, and all he can think about is whether losing will get him kicked out of the noble class. But hey, nobody's really going to lose a thing in that fight. Before Tom can even react, a slap lands across his face and his classmates just stare, totally clueless about what they're witnessing. The boy sobs from sheer pain, and just like that, Terrier is crowned the new winner. Now everyone's asking, will this boy get pushed down into the regular class? He could end up feeling a little lonely, because barely anyone ever talks to him. His friend can't stop wondering if that guy is a mage built for pure defense. But Reese shuts that idea down instantly. He weaponizes defensive magic like a blade, using it to strike instead of sitting behind it like a shield. Out of nowhere, the principal's message hits his phone. Right in the spotlight is a transfer student who slid into school mid-semester, and his big wins are stacking up so hard that he's about to earn a spot in the noble class. The boy finally clocks it. He didn't get special treatment for who he was, but because his exam scores were the highest. Meanwhile, that girl can't stop thinking, why would he transfer right now of all times? Reese spots the question and shoots back, do you know that kid? And she grins, saying they both share the same water attribute. That boy came from a famous family, and everyone swore their son was pure talent. Reese can't help it, he even mocks him to his face. Now hold up, this is his real opponent. The new student sweeps the crowd in the stands with a sharp, curious gaze. In class, he suddenly stands up and introduces himself, Terrier Wallach. Reese watches can't help but feel bored as he suddenly becomes the center of everyone's attention. The girl stares at him like something's off and blurts, what's going on here? He raves about Terrier, like this guy is flawless, no flaws in sight. He fires off, just a country boy, and right then Terrier bursts into the scene. With a grin, he leans in and says, Reese is still the same idiot he's always been. Reese's irritation spikes even higher, and the teacher finally snaps and calls him out. He demanded the boy lead the way, showing him around the whole school campus. But the teacher snaps back, saying it's his job as the class monitor. The boy's still totally clueless, and the teacher just turns and storms away like there's nothing left to explain. With a heart-worn stare, Terrier begs him to take care of him. He's totally hooked by Reese's story because he aced the entrance exam, perfect score, no mistakes. To him, Rez and his crew felt wildly different from anything the world usually throws at him. But now they're all going to study together and he's praying they click. Reese doesn't hesitate, and yeah, not only is he totally handsome, he's polite too. He leans in and asks if the young man's been eating right, and the young man just nods. His friends clock it instantly, the two of them look eerily identical. Inside the libraries, Lotto's Ganawork bellows, calling Reese. Terrier grins and says he's thrilled to finally meet her. He swears everyone in the world knows her family. Reese demands to know what business that guy has with the Ganawork family. But the boy just reaches out to her, and with a confident smile he tells her it'll be a pleasure to have her in his corner from here on out. The protagonist snaps with irritation at how everyone keeps crowding in. But the girl fires back, saying she's already eating and won't greet him until she's finished. Terrier's crushed, and the other boys immediately shout at him to come grab a meal too. Reese tells everyone give it time, things will settle down, because Lotto's is a genuinely good person. But the boy shrugs it off like it's no big deal, says he doesn't mind at all, then everyone drops into their seats and digs in. The whole scene feels like it's pressing down on their chests, and then the girl whirls around to face Miss Woodrow. That vibe is pure pressure, whatever this is, it's definitely not normal. She leans in and asks, Reese, haven't you noticed the mood hanging around you? And he leaned in and asked Terrier what on earth she wanted to talk about with Lotto's. He shrugs off the drama, claims their families are close, and then he strides up to greet her. He leans in and asks if he can call her Lotto's, and she just smiles, telling him he can call her whatever he wants. She blurts out that a letter has to have landed from her house, and then panic hits her like a punch. And everybody's like, what letter is it? Lotto's jumps up in a rush, thanking them for the meal, and then the boy calls her back again. He says next time he's making a move, just him and her alone, no one else around. She doesn't say a word, she just strides off, and Reese is left staring, stunned like, what the heck just happened? He blurts out questions about Lotto, watching her walk away. After that she vanished from sight, and they never saw her again. Now Reese is giving the new student a full tour of the school, and then he points out exactly where the event announcements get posted. Terrier's instincts scream something's wrong. He can't wrap his head around the fact that Reese is actually guiding him. The boy shrugs like it's nothing, but deep down he can't shake the feeling he was pressured into doing it. But the newcomer wasn't talking about that at all, he pressed, asking what kind of impression people had of him because he desperately wanted to make sense of what went down with Lotto's earlier. Reese is stuck, he has no idea what to say, so at lunch he calls for Lotto as she's about to walk out. And shoots straight to Terrier, what letter were you talking about? But the boy shuts down the questions fast, saying it's none of anyone's business, just a family matter. Lotto's then snaps, meddling in someone else's family drama is flat out rude. So the boy shuts that idea down for good, he refuses to bother his friend with it. Terrier tells Reese there's a world of difference between how someone asterisk seems and how they truly look asterisk, while Reese fires back, so why do people keep judging me by my appearance? Somehow this new kid clicks instantly with his classmate, like there's a spark they can't explain. He claims they're both masters of defensive magic, but Reese snaps back, he can only pull off that single move. The new guy shrugs and says everyone's tried to critique his magic, but in the end, every person's got their own unique power. People usually blast with offensive magic for quick hits, but Terrier flips the script, that's why his fighting style feels so wild. But Terrier blurts out his thanks, because honestly he expected way more suspicion and he didn't get it. The girl leans in and asks if he's the one who made the water prison spell, and he grins, yeah, it's his original creation, packed with his own custom modifications. They call it the Water Fortress, and this thing is insanely powerful. Watching someone bend the surface of the water has him completely spellbound. Suddenly the boy snaps and decides he has to get out right now. Reese asks, "You're heading out already?" and the boy nods, confirming he's leaving. Up ahead, a man is waiting for him, so the young guy rushes over and blurts out an apology for keeping him waiting that long. That's S. Kim's Terrier's loyal servant, sticking close to the family like his shadow. For now, the boy is bunking at an inn in the capital, right there where the whole trouble is headed. That's because the Kims can't cram into some basic dorm, so the boy slips into his family's transport and races straight for the inn. Reese and his friend watch him storm out. Reese locks in on the truth, Kim isn't just an ordinary servant. His friend swears the dorms are safe, warns him it's not worth bunking at some city inn, and the boy can't stop thinking about it. Something about it feels wrong, and it starts to gnaw at Reese nonstop. But hey, it could still be just some spoiled brat who thinks he needs a servant, anything can happen. Next day, Reese takes one look and catches every girl closing in around Terrier. Jealous flames ignite in him because he thinks he should be the one standing there with all those women. Then out of nowhere the teacher snaps, "Quiet." That day's training was all about mastering mana control, and as he channeled power through his hands, he fired the question at the class, "Do you understand? That spell technique is a must for mages. No control means you can't project, and you definitely can't fire up a magic circle, period." Everyone just stares, jaws dropping at how effortlessly the teacher does it. It's wild how he controls those spheres, no wonder Alfie's freaking out during the entrance exam. All the teachers at that school are beasts, unless they've got to deal with you. When they battled side by side, her communication magic snapped the octagonal barrier and turned it to dust. The teacher barks Reese and tells him to step up and start. Next, the boy plunges into the technique, and to everyone's shock, he holds his own pretty well. The teacher snaps the rest of the class to line up and use Reese as the blueprint, then do the exact same thing. Then he pushes him to become the class instructor because he's the best of them all, and the boy just nods, agreeing without hesitation. He watches his friends scramble to pull off the task, and some of them make it look way easier than the others, but the protagonist grits his teeth and works like crazy to help everyone out. For him, it's a piece of cake since the task feels just like his usual training, but his classmates start finally getting the hang of it. Then Terrier shouts his name and calls for his help. Reese shows his friend exactly how far he's come with the exercises and hypes him up for doing great, until the new guy jumps in and disagrees. Terrier blurts that it blows his mind the teacher has all those traits, and Reese cracks a joke. Does that mean he thinks it makes him better than Alfie? The boy nods yes, but you can feel the hesitation in it. Then he dodges the moment and fires back with a question about Lotto's, and the protagonist admits he hasn't seen her. After that cafeteria incident, she vanished completely, no one's seen her since. Then the new guy shoots his hand up and begs for permission to fire off one last question. He demands to know just how much Reese really knows about the Ganwok family, and the young man is instantly thrown off by the question. But he admits he's got no clue, only that they're from a noble bloodline and they've got a serious gift for the water attribute. The new guy dives right back into training, and Reese curious snaps, "Why'd you bring that up?" But Terrier shuts it down fast and steers the conversation somewhere else. Still, Reese can't shake it. He whips around to fire off one more question, but before he can finish, a pack of classmates shouts his name and cuts him off. Pacing in my head, I just couldn't stop wanting to fire off answers, so I kept itching to ask questions. Reese snaps to the truth. Today, his training is gone and his focus won't land on a single thing. He can't shake the feeling that he has to find out exactly what his classmate knows about the Nork family. He's close with Lotto's and he's been beside her since they were kids in school. But he has no idea what she's hiding or what's really going on with her family. He's holding a few of her secrets in his hands, yet somehow it still isn't enough. He still can't figure out what he really feels for her, especially right now since she's keeping everyone at arm's length, even him. He can't stop asking himself if their bond will finally snap and end the same way. So he has to crack what's really going on, because after all that overthinking, his head is spinning. He stops at a tiny stand, orders something sweet, and thinks, man, I need a little joy in my life right now. The sweet vendor leans in and chats with the little girl, radiating pure warmth the whole time. The little girl beams at him and thanks him with pure, unmistakable joy. She's practically buzzing with joy, swearing she's about to grab every single sweet from the shop. Reese snaps at her and yanks her away in a hurry. He blurts out, what the heck is Loli Baba doing here? That little girl can't wrap her head around why her brother is rushing like something chasing him. She tells him, don't be jealous, after all this I still choose you. Then the boy blurts out, why do you keep running to the capital? He blurts out that it makes his stomach twist, watching his relatives act that ridiculously and feeling completely embarrassed. So yeah, once you think about it, that forest should basically have zero shortage of sweets for her. Those nobles who tried to snatch her away totally betrayed her, luring her in with nothing but sweet treats. Crossing the forest near her home feels like scaling Everest, and Reese instantly clocks something strange. He blurts that a storage chest would fix everything, shoves a key into her hand, and the little girl goes wide-eyed. Those are insanely rare. A normal chest holds about as much as a backpack, and as time drags on, it starts to break down and wear out. But that one's a top-tier, handcrafted masterpiece, built from insanely rare materials. If she sold it, she could snag a mansion and still have cash to spare. And now, that insanely valuable object is about to vanish into the forest. But she grabs his attention and begs him not to hand her things like that. She's got her own resources too. She swears that whole thing is already his, but she won't budge. She refuses to let it go, and she dares him to do whatever he wants with the chest. Then the little girl walks out, and Reese just stands there, utterly dumbfounded. But he's got zero plans to sell it. Right in the thick of the crowd, he locks eyes on Lotto's. He shouts her name like it's the last lifeline, driving forward with everything he's got, until the gap grows, his push fails, and he's left staring as he loses her in the crowd. With pure determination, he blasts into the sky, eyes locked on everything as he hunts for the girl, until he finally spots her. Suddenly, a strange figure steps up beside him and grabs his attention, asking him to join the quest. The boy storms off, furious that he wasted time, and the moment he's gone, townspeople pour in behind him, convinced he's a thief. Frustration sparks in him, and he's convinced fate is playing matchmaker, trying to tear them apart. He bellows to the sky, screaming his friend's name with every ounce of strength, yet she never turns around, just keeps walking like she can't even hear him. On the road, Lotto's keeps asking herself what she's even doing, still forcing herself to school, but her mind won't latch onto a single thing. After class, she skips training and stops studying, like everything inside her has gone numb and the meaning in life has completely vanished. She's sure she heard Reese calling her name, but brushes it off as her imagination. She heads toward a tiny square. She plops onto a bench, heart pounding, and gathers every ounce of courage to finally head back to the dorm. She senses something moving around her, and then, boom, a boy launches right in front of her and startles her to the core. Reese Lovis finally managed to track it down. He tells her he's fought through hell just to get to her. But the girl just tilts her head and asks what's going on, then he blurts out that he's heard she hasn't been sleeping or eating properly lately. A little embarrassed, she admits it, and then he slips her something and demands she at least eat it. It's a special nutrient, and she downs it without a second thought. But the moment she takes a taste, she instantly realizes how vile it is, and it makes her nearly vomit on the spot. To help her, he hands her a sweet fruit, wiping the taste clean in one bite. She almost breaks down in sheer relief the second she tastes that fruit. Then annoyance hits hard and she demands to know what he actually fed her because somehow she's feeling way better now. If that taste wasn't so brutally awful, it would have been absolutely perfect. Now the two of them are parked on the bench, side by side, and the silence between them feels so loud you can almost hear it. Right when he asks what she's been up to lately, she shrugs it off as nothing special, and the two of them just drift forward, no real talk at all because she's clearly caught up in her own thoughts. Reese is totally lost on how to act around her. Then she leans in and asks, "So how's Wallach doing?" Her friend insists he's totally fine, with a whole crowd of girls swarming around him. And then he sinks into deep thought because Terrier still has way too much about it that he just can't figure out. But honestly, he doesn't feel like a bad guy at all. The girl snaps to her feet and storms out, refusing to sit through her friend defending Terrier. Finally, Reese leans in and demands answers about the letter they mentioned in the cafeteria. The girl just bursts into laughter like the whole thing is hilarious, and then she admits that right then and there she totally screwed up. The letter was from her family, and her father had personally sent it to her. She admits her dad is a total hardliner, and that she and him barely see eye to eye. It was Lato's father who slammed down the order and made sure she studied at that school. He says they fight nonstop at home. Meanwhile, in Reese's family, his parents actually get along and shower each other with love, plus his father backed him up every step so Reese could keep going to school. Latsu blurts out that envy is eating her alive because of it. She reveres her father totally deeply for two reasons: he's her mighty leader and a brilliant mage. She says he's a total throwback, an old-school noble through and through. Reese won't let it go. He presses again and demands to know what's inside that letter. She jolts in surprise and blurts, "Didn't Wallach say anything about this?" The girl bursts into tears, convinced she can't get a single word out, and her friend scrambles to figure out what triggered that reaction. But his friend explodes into a scream, insisting that none of it has anything to do with him. She breaks down harder, tears spilling nonstop as the situation crushes her. Reese apologizes, swears he won't bring it up ever again. He just tells her to sleep easy and never skip a meal. The girl leans in and demands, "Why do you care about me this much?" And he fires back, "We're friends, just that is all it takes." She's standing alone in the middle of a bustling plaza, completely cut off from everyone. And he can't stop wondering what she's even doing there. Then, out of nowhere, Terrier slips in right behind her. With a grin that dares anyone to argue, he tells her she looks bright and cheerful, then she whirls around, shocked by how fast he closed the distance. The boy blurts out, "This is the first time we've gotten to talk since I transferred." He also notes that her face looks totally different now than it did when she was with her friend. Being there, talking to that guy, sends her into pure panic, and she snaps at him, accusing him of spying on her and calling it totally immoral. Without so much as a pause, she fires the question at him, "Do you have something to say?" Because she's got words of her own too. Then she snaps back and changes her mind. Honestly, it doesn't even matter. She's on board with the way things are right now. The boy shrugs it off like her reaction makes perfect sense. He already knows what she's been through. And yeah, he even fesses up that he can feel a bit of empathy for the whole mess. But she shot back, telling him he knows absolutely nothing about her, while his bodyguard kept his eyes locked on the scene, watching with sharp caution. That towering presence throws her into even more shock. Then Terry snaps Kim's and calls out to him. And finally apologizes, admitting he should have warned her sooner about the bodyguard lurking nearby. Her irritation skyrockets even harder with every single second of it. The new guy blurts out that she and her father clearly can't stand each other, and she snaps, furious, "Shut up." She snaps that none of it matters and orders him to get out right now. Terrier, as if life had to prove a point, isn't getting an easy ride. The bodyguard steps in, urging the boy to loosen up a little more, but the boy snaps back that he's already opening up. The young man finally cracks. He's been bottling his feelings for that girl, and that's exactly why everything inside him feels so miserable. Finally, he told Kim's to stop playing mind games and trying to feel it with his gut. Reese pauses and compares a plain old carriage to the kind built for the rich, because the gap between them is impossible to ignore. His friend squints at the comment and blurts out, "Wait, aren't those just regular carriages?" Then, right in the middle of that, the two get blindsided by something totally unexpected. Honestly, you don't see a carriage like that every single day. That day, you're not just going to school, you're getting a joint class with another group. Reese is praying that by then, Haya will be back to her normal self. At the location, the student groups stand in tight rows, lined up in perfect, strict order. To power up, you'll have to sharpen your magic precision with partners who aren't your usual, and that change forces you to get dead on. With a sly, ironic grin, the teacher tells the regular class to watch the noble one and clock every difference. That's all he ever says, the one answer, no more. Reese keeps a sharp eye on his friend, not taking his gaze off him. She looks like she's absolutely furious about what's happening. He's thinking about asking if they should split the whole class in two. And just as that happens, a voice suddenly calls out to him. Carrier steps up and proposes they team up. Right after that, his friend shows up looking visibly pissed and declares she's joining that group too. The moment the two lock eyes, the air turns razor thin. She snaps and yells at him to stay out of other people's family business, while the young man just stands there saying nothing. He can feel it sooner or later that topic is gonna rear its head. And just like that, it's crystal clear she's promised to Terrier. Reese stares at Lottos and Terrier, frozen in total shock. After the extracurricular classes kick off, the students are finally herded onto the field. Iria leans in and demands, "So, everyone's got it right. In this class, you get scattered all over with different people, because the whole point is to sharpen your magic control until it's rock solid." Rage flares in her voice as she snaps at Zess. His students are teaming up to cheat the rules. She whirls around and storms off, fuming with rage. Then Muriel and Reese murmur something, and she catches every word. Cadna leaned in and asked her friend, "Do you know why that teacher targets you with pure hatred?" Whatever the reason is, he doesn't even flinch. He's one of the top students, but his friends slam it in his face. She was the one who ran their practical exam. The teacher flat out admits it was all because of him that she got stuck leading the noble class, and now she's watching him like a hawk too. Alfie blurts out, "So I can use attacks if I'm teaching, right?" And the whole room freezes as everyone stares at him, terrified something's about to go wrong. But Professor Zest snaps the conversation shut in seconds, insisting she'd never do that, and reminding him the master already warned her to rein in her rage. Zest shuts down the gossiping fast, tells them their little group is exactly what the teacher warned about, and orders them to go find new partners. One of the sensei kicks off his demonstration, snapping his fingers and summoning dozens of targets across the training field. The first lesson is long-distance magic, and Reese can barely contain his excitement. He's hoping his team crushes it. It's all built around one kid, Lottos plus Theria, who slides in with that passive-aggressive line about hoping for the very same. But inside, the boy is brimming with worry, wondering if this crew can actually pull it off, and obsessing over why Lottos even teamed up with him when she hates Theria so much. With a tiny fragment clenched in his palm, he starts carving his magic circle. Right then, Reese snaps back, deciding to ignore those thoughts while his teammates stare in stunned disbelief. Between his fingers, he clenches a tiny glowing spark, then fires off the expansion spell. Light surges, pressure cannon in sniper mode snaps online, and just like that, one of the boy's arms clicks back into a mechanical form. Zest darts in the second he notices that, rushing to find out exactly what the boy is up to. Reeves snaps, "Relax, just watch." Then he aims the cannon straight ahead and pulls the trigger. The laser blasts straight through the middle of multiple targets, ripping them apart in an instant. With pride blazing in his chest, the boy asks what Zest thought, and the professor nods, saying it was absolutely perfect. Then another boy spots it and yells, "Pick me, I want to go next." His aim's a little off and a few targets miss completely, so the boy watches the other student practice. At 25 meters they perform perfectly, then they refuse to push any farther, and that's when you start noticing which groups truly stand out. Especially when you spot Alfie and you track down Muriel, because she split her magic on purpose, breaking it into scattered pieces. Reese watches the target get smashed by a brutal hit, and his jaw drops in pure awe. He couldn't stop himself from noticing it. Kadini was using the exact same tactic, slamming up a massive barrier while blasting the wooden dummies with bullets at the same time. Seeing her powers up close, the boy finally admits he might even end up getting beaten by her. Kadina whips around, all charm and confidence, locks eyes with him, and tells him she can pull the exact same move anytime she wants. Now it's all about the pairings. Theria whips up water bullets and blasts the fake opponents out of the way. They nailed the mark straight on, but the professor clocked it instantly. Just a few centimeters were still off for it to be perfect. Zess leans in and asks if she's ready to try again, promising he'll judge her on her best showing. Theria smiles and says she's happy with her current scores, then adds that she'll use them to get better later, just not right now, while Lattice fires off aqua bullets. She fires wildly at the heart of the targets, clenching her arm and pouring on more and more force as she keeps casting the spell. Everything spirals out of control. She just keeps chanting the spell over and over like she can't break free, and then she grips her hands tight with Reese S and it stops her cold. Then he snaps that if she doesn't quit, she'll drain every last bit of her energy, and even though she's furious and torn up inside, she finally gives in and agrees. Reese tries to lift her spirits by saying, "Go hard but don't burn out, pace yourself," and when she blushes with embarrassment, she tells him to let go of her hand. Reese, all awkward nerves, snaps her fingers back and blurts an apology as Lotto strides away. Then the boy just stares at his own fingers like that moment hit harder than he expected. She couldn't stop thinking about how fragile her hands felt, and even Theria, the queen of delicate hands, couldn't come close to the way Lotto's hands left her feeling. He can't shake that warm feeling as he stares at his palms. Then he breaks the silence and says, "I swear we're almost ready to move on to the next lesson." Unaware of it, Lotto's was staring at her hands with pure tenderness. After that first round of exercises, the students didn't slow down for a second. They barreled into more, blasting through quick-draw short-range spells, honing magic resistance and sharpening their fire skills. Everything went smoothly and got results, but the non-stop practical tests drained him, and he had to dig deep just to keep his focus from slipping. Lotto's hunches over, coughing hard, like the price of pushing herself to the limit is finally catching up to her. He pulls her into a hug and tells her to take it slow, but Lotto's keeps grumbling that it's not fair since he gets to recover. But somehow that weakness never slows Theria down. She tackles every new job like it's the very first time all over again. That urge to beat that guy is sucking the life out of her, 1 ounce of energy at a time. Professor Hiria steps up and challenges everyone to a full-on battle simulation. She tells them the rule: no magic, just the pure basics, and then out of nowhere she screams Reese's name. He shoots back a sarcastic "sure," making it crystal clear he's forbidden from using his cannon or boosting any abilities. Then he grudgingly agrees. The battles finally kick off, spells crack in the air, and Reese's rival gets blasted clean off their feet by the students' power, while Reese just stands there grinning like he's loving every second of the chaos. But out of nowhere, blasts slam into him, and before he even processes it, he shoots back fast at the boy. He flew at the kid with everything he had, fists cocked to punch him in the face. Then a shout cut through the chaos and someone stopped him before things got worse. Zest blurts out that Reese has won, helps the boy scramble back to his feet, and just like that snaps right back into his usual chill. Then out of nowhere, Theria challenges him to a duel, and the boy's heart starts racing. Lotto strides toward him, seething with fury. She tells them Reese has already done the fighting, so now it's her and Theria who step into the ring. Theria only nods and agrees. Her friend tries to stop her, warning she's running on fumes, but she lashes out, snaps, and tells him to mind his own business. Then she smiles and tells him that the pill he gave her yesterday actually helped. Reese watches every move like a hawk, and the master's voice blasts out, announcing the match is about to begin. Fury flickers in their eyes as the two lock stares and hurl their spells at once. Then boom, an explosion lights up for everyone to see. Both of them slip out of each other's aim with lightning-fast moves. Theria flows through it all, graceful as a dancer, chaining strike after strike. Lotto suddenly takes a brutal hit. All the other students go wild with excitement, then wham, shards and tons of water slam into them. Reese, though, spots the aqua bullets she fired and knows exactly what they are. Meanwhile, Tom starts showboating from the ground, drenched from head to toe and somehow still acting like a superstar. Seeing that, the young man lets out a breath of relief. At least Tom didn't get hurt. People wonder if Lotto's is about to run dry. She's gasping, completely worn out, while Theria keeps hammering her with non-stop attacks. Bullets kept slamming mostly into her hips and legs, and Reese can't shake the feeling he's deliberately dodging her balloons. She crumples to the ground, hands flying over her face, furious that she lost. Then Theria strides right up to her. She suddenly admits it: she didn't just fight, she actually won this battle. Then right out of nowhere, she whips in a vicious leg strike fused with the aqua bullet, and Theria gets blindsided, blasting through the air. He shoots back to his senses and locks eyes with her. Lotto's has to move fast if she wants out of this mess because she clocks it instantly. He can still blast her from a distance. The boy fires off the aqua drive at her, and it knocks her off balance mid-fight. The aim is dead on, the bullet slams into her with brutal force. Lotto drops to the ground, drenched in it. The master crowns Theria as the big winner, and right away a bunch of girls swarm him, praising him like he's pure genius. Reese can't believe he's freaking out when he's been ignoring the girls the whole time. The girl doesn't move a muscle and just lies there on the ground, and the teachers panic, calling for a nurse while everyone scrambles to see if she's really okay. Then a massive gust of wind tears through the air, and boom, the explosion hits right as Reese snaps on his mechanical arm like he's just been waiting for this moment. He sprints to the girl sprawled on the ground, tells the teacher he's got to ditch early with her because they need to settle something, then he scoops her up and helps her stand, steadying her with every step. Sensing her weakness, he scoops her into his arms, hits the gas with pure speed and bolts out of there like his life depends on it. Meanwhile, the sensei has zero clue what just went down. Theria shoots, "Was I right?" and Reese grins, "Yeah, taking that advantage was pure hell of a move." Two soaked battering rams, pounding through the mud like a nightmare you can hear coming. He scoops her up and hauls her away, even though she's still weak, worn down and barely standing. Reese is holed up in his room, right beside the bed where Lotto's is lying there. After that Theria water bullet hit her, it turns out the girl was seconds away from being exposed as a woman. That's why our boy swung at her in his room, and trust me, nobody can ever find out about this secret. After a while, the girl finally cracks her eyes open, and right there beside her, the protagonist leans in and says, "Good morning." And he spells it out, this isn't her place at all, there in his room. Lotto snaps fully awake and erupts into screaming, but the second she tumbles out from under the covers, she starts shivering hard because she's still soaked to the bone. Reese storms out of the room, tells her he'll be back in 20 minutes and orders her to take a shower and steal one of his outfits. Outside, he can't believe they actually went all out with the school's soundproofing, no shortcuts, zero compromise. Lotto's heads straight for the shower, and just a few minutes later he tells Reese, "You can come back now." Blushing hard, she thanks him for the clothes. When he twists his face toward her, our boy blurts, "Why aren't you wearing pants?" She sighs and says it's because every single pair was so ridiculously baggy they just wouldn't work. While the shirts turned out painfully tight as he sat in the chair, Reeves kept his eyes locked on anything but the girl. The young woman leans in and demands, "So what happened after I lost Etheria?" Reese quickly blurts that he pulled everyone's attention away and hustled her outside. Nervous Lottos blurts out, "So what are you gonna do now that I know your secret?" But the boy declares, "I'm not telling a single soul." Intrigued, the girl grins and says, "A noble's weakness can be used a dozen ways, grab money, seize power, you name it." Reese cuts him off and flat out says he's got zero interest in any of that. And checks him like, "So are you the type who blackmails people?" After a moment of thinking, the girl realizes, this whole time, the boy's already been in on her secret. Right in the middle of it, Reese blurts that he's already cracked it, figured it out during their duel. And the principal had already warned him she had some serious traits. He ends the talk with a quick nod and promises, "I'll go grab your clothes." Clutching her shirt, Lottie fires off a question, can he hear her story and why she dresses like a boy? Then we learn the Ganork family had a sweet little daughter, raised with all the proper lessons every future noble lady was expected to get. Reese blurts something out, but the girl snaps, "Don't interrupt, I'm telling the story." Then she leans in and tells you the little girl wasn't alone, she had a brother. Meet Lotto's Jinork, the brilliant heir to the powerful Jinork family. Her boy's eyes go wide when the truth finally hits him. Then she leans in and tells her brother's secret, he had a real gift for water magic and people called him a genius. So their father hauled the boy into daily training, day after day, just to make sure he didn't fall short of expectations. Meanwhile, that little girl worshipped her older brother from the bottom of her heart, started imitating him and slipped into secret practice sessions, honing their magic in total secrecy. With a grin, Reese insists her dad must have laid into her the moment he found out. She snapped back that his thinking was trapped in the past, and that's why he refused to accept her using magic. But she didn't quit, she kept drilling her skills like her life depended on it. And Lattice started slipping her secret magic lessons in the shadows. She leans in and says those were the happiest days of her life, because the future of the Nork family finally looked secure. 10 years later, her older brother died. Reese looks at the girl with pity and tells her, "If you don't want to, you don't have to keep going." With a smile, the girl admits she's done holding everything back and wants to finally wrap up the story. Lotto's met her end in a burst of magic during training, at least, that's the story she still believes. Because of that, they slipped the funeral in under the radar, and the story they sold everyone was that her brother was sick and stuck in bed. As a little kid, she couldn't even tell whether her parents were telling the truth or hiding the real story for political games, or because they simply couldn't swallow the truth. After that day, everything changed. Her mother quit getting out of bed and her father drowned himself in alcohol, while she somehow kept everything running with the maid. Watch over her little sister like it's her own heart. She looks at the woman and tells her, "Don't worry, hand the little one to me." and she says she knows her sister is lonely, really lonely. Right then, staring at her reflection, she snapped into the truth. She looked just like her dead brother. Right away, the young woman bolted into her room and chopped off her hair. Anne slipped into Laodic's clothes and turned into a whole different person, then headed straight for the room where her father was staying. She knocks on the door and demands the man teach her magic. As soon as she cracked the door open, her father snapped, "What the hell do you think you're doing?" Then he drove his palm across her face and snarled that she was defiling the memory of the dead. On the floor, the girl crumpled and tears started pouring down her face. Still, after all that, she started showing up at her parents' place every single day, same outfit, no excuses. Because she believed if she pushed herself hard enough to look just like her brother, she could finally pull her family back from the brink. Reese's world freezes the moment she hears it, then the young woman drops the next line like a bomb. One day. Her father nodded and agreed to a training session. Then the two of them rushed into the courtyard where she had to prove herself by catching the blow and defending it. The man snapped that she was too slow, too distracted, and just didn't have the power. Countering back, they said Lotto's was leagues above that, which meant she was nothing but a knockoff. Then bam, a strike slammed into the man from behind. He couldn't even process what he just saw, pure shock hit him like a punch. When he spun around, there was nobody. Then he realized the remote transmission had kicked on. With eyes blazing wide, he demanded to know how a girl her age could pull off something like that. The next day, the man yanked the girl into his study, and this time it was spotless, no bottles clattering everywhere. With a grim, steady stare, he told her that starting right now she'd be raised as the male heir of the Nork family. And that's how she went from ordinary to Lotto's Nork. Our boy blurts out, "Wouldn't it have been better if they'd just announced I was dead?" And the girl nods, then admits she couldn't help thinking she looked an awful lot like her brother. The only snag was she had to learn how to play the part of a boy. And she learned magic the hard way. Her father made sure of it, teaching her with brutal discipline. With a warm smile, she told them that this was what finally kicked her family back onto the road to recovery. And the only thing her mom demanded was simple: keep your hair long. For 10 years, the girl convinced herself she was doing everything right, until one day a letter dropped into her hands that she wouldn't dare let him read. It said the guy she'd marry was already picked out, so she just stood there totally baffled. Reese is trying to figure out whether the baby is a boy or a girl. Lotto's, yeah, not really Lotto's, swears it all began a month before she ever stepped into that school, the day her father demanded she marry a boy and go back to being a girl. It rattled her so badly that she couldn't even slip into the noble class. Still, she tightened her disguise and pushed forward anyway. Then that letter finally came crashing onto the doorstep. She found out her father had already picked Theria Wallach as her husband. That's why she snapped at him and turned downright aggressive. After the story ends, the girl grins and says she's heading to her room, but the protagonist yells, begging her not to leave without pants. Reese thrusts a piece of clothing into her hands and tells her to just strap on a belt as she takes it from him. And he handed her the bandages outright so she could use them and never have to bring them back. Then our boy storms right back out of the room again. He couldn't stop grinning, pride surged in his chest after hearing every last bit of it. Suddenly, Lotto swings the door open and asks if he can help her with the part that screams she's a girl. Inside that room, the girl blurts out an apology, admitting she's not strong enough to pull it off by herself. Yet. But when she spots the boy spiraling through an existential crisis, she snaps, asking if he can hurry up. Like he's done it 100 times, our guy leans in and says yes. While she's probably cringing just as hard, thinking she might be dying of embarrassment too. Trying to silence the voice inside his skull, Reese tells himself, "All right, let's just get this over with." Lotto helps him out, pointing to exactly where the bandage goes, then showing him just how tight it needs to be. While he's stuck hearing their instructions, all he can think about is one simple escape: climb into a hole and vanish like he never existed. He's freaking out and says it's so tight she probably can't even breathe. But she shrugs it off like it's nothing. She's been doing this for ages. Even though she desperately wished puberty would stop dumping all this mess on her, Lotto's suddenly snaps around fast. Reese whips around, forced to apologize, and she just laughs through it, saying she'll need his help again, flashing a small smile like she's loving every second of it. Reese refuses to get distracted and straight up asks Lotto's, "Do you think Theria knows she's a girl?" The girl blurts out yes, and basically tells the boy he's got everything figured out. Then our boy straight up asks what his family thinks about this whole marriage mess, and Lotto just grins, saying everyone's acting hopeful. After all, it's a deal that benefits both houses, so the boy can't help it. Worry claws at him as he finally asks, "So, how do you really feel?" With a heavy sigh, the girl tells her truth. She's got nothing against Theria, she just doesn't want to marry at all. Smiling, Reese snaps, "That's not how it looked earlier," while her cheeks burn as she finishes getting dressed. Then Lotto cuts in, saying she's basically set to ditch school after the first semester and lock in full-time prep for the wedding. Because her father apparently took over the moment, she passed the entrance exam and decided everything for her. The protagonist blurts out, "Wait, are we seriously racing through this way too fast?" But the girl shrugs it off and says, "There's nothing I can do, this is just how my father has always been." So yeah, she's got no choice at all. And right now, her mind is a total wreck, she can't even think straight. Reese decides to take a long, hard look at Lotto's. He's hit with pure disbelief when he realizes everything is completely wiped out. Jaw hit the floor, he erupts into shouting, demanding how something like that is even possible. Because there's a hard limit to how much mass like that you can conceal. Reese shoots out his hands and asks to check, because he has to be absolutely sure. Then the girl slams him with a spell and growls that he'd better not even think about trying. She bursts out of the room, tells everyone she's heading back to her dorm, and closes it out with a heartfelt "Thanks for listening." Reese, shut up and keep your mouth closed. Lotto's is sprawled on the floor, and down the hallway he trudges forward at a slow, creeping pace, until she finally storms into her room and flings herself face first onto the bed. Snatching up her blanket, the girl pulls it around herself and wraps tight. She just shrinks into a cocoon in the middle of the room, staring at the ceiling like, "What the hell am I doing?" No matter what anyone else says, Reese is a good soul, so when he finally found out, he swallowed the truth and kept her secret safe. But yeah, back then, things had spun way past the line and got out of control. Baffled and mortified, the young woman lies there squirming under her blanket, wondering if that boy was trying to pull something after all the restless tossing and turning. Lotto skits up, like the whole crowd is about to explode. And she can't help it, she's thrilled that he finally sees her as a woman. And that finally cracked the truth wide open in her heart. She realized exactly what she was feeling for him. She rises up and strides straight to the mirror. Staring at her reflection, she admits that face is the lie she's been carrying for the last decade. Then she stops for a breath, and everything she survived hits her all at once. The girl realizes everyone is shunning the last 10 years she spent as Lotto's, and even with that hurt, she refuses to just toss it all away. No matter what she does, that gut-deep feeling in her heart won't let go. Night crashes down and then, bam, something takes off straight out of one of the school's windows, blazing a path straight for the forest ahead. It's Reese bursting into his grandmother's room and blurting out that he needs her help. The issue is, she's not just chilling after her bath, she's grinding through post-bath stretches for health and a long, durable life. So yeah, he's gonna have to hold up for a moment. Outside, Reese can't stop wondering what kind of face you make when you accidentally stumble onto a scene like that. The woman shows up and with a shocked breath she says, "I didn't expect you'd be coming to see me in the forest of Hades at midnight." So she has to know, what's he doing here? Blushing hard, our guy swallows his nerves and admits he wants to talk to her about a friend. Then he spills the entire story about Ladius, like every last detail finally bursts out. Asks his grandmother to fill his head with her wisdom and set his mind straight. Everything hit her at once, marriage rumors and the fact he'd dropped out of school. Inside the disguise situation. Mid-shout, the protagonist blurts out that his mind can't latch onto anything else. The woman then snaps that he's truly pathetic. Now that he's finally cooled off, they can sit down and talk. Straight to the heart of it, the woman cuts in and demands what Reese wants to do about the girl. He doesn't hesitate for a second, he blurts out that he wants to help her. But all he can think about is throwing punches at her father. Would absolutely beat him up. And she snaps that violence won't fix a thing here. Because this problem runs way deeper than that. It's all tied to her dead brother plus her dad pushing marriage, and that's why she gets forced to quit school and leave. So you gotta dig into what everyone's thinking and what they truly want. So he can finally hunt down the answer he's been chasing. As the protagonist rises, his grandmother leans in and says, "That's my only advice, after this it's all on you." Reese's head is jammed to his classroom desk like he passed out mid-thought. The kid walks right up to him and fires off, "Why are you like this?" With a grin, the protagonist admits he absolutely crushed his morning training, way more than he should have. The girl storms in and demands, "So you're really going to pull that pathetic excuse just to sleep through class?" So our boy finally realizes if he wants to stay on top of that ranking, he's got to start paying attention and fast. But right now, he can barely form a proper sentence. then he glances sideways and spots a girl fast asleep, and then decides to jump in and help rouse her from sleep. Then he flicks out a tiny shield orb, and when it connects, the girl jolts awake, eyes wide with a startled gasp. She reeled in confusion, totally clueless about what just smashed into her head. Right at the start, the teacher smiles and says good morning, then calls her up to the board to solve the problem. Too bad she basically slept through most of the class. The girl cracks it in just a few seconds. Reese sits there thinking, and it hits her, doing something like that has to be normal for her. At the very end of class, he leans in and tells his classmates, "I've got an appointment later today," like he can't wait for what's coming. As he racked his brain, one thing became crystal clear: he knew exactly what he had to do next. Out of nowhere, a boy bursts in and begs for a favor. Smiling, our boy tells him he already knew he'd be back, because after what happened the day before, he had to come looking. Suddenly, it hits him, his grandmother's words come roaring back to his mind. And he starts wondering if Theria is somehow behind it, because he's dying to learn how she figured out Lotto's real gender. To his shock, the boy grins and blurts that it's time for their simulated battle, the one they never got to do yesterday. The two of them sprint straight outside like something's chasing them. Curious as ever, Reese tells them he's not scared of a fight, but he needs to know why they're being forced to do it in that dead, empty training yard. Theria then blurts out that it's because, over there, they don't have to fear prying eyes from other students. And yeah, he called him over for a real talk, and with a grin, our guy smugly thinks, "All right, now you've finally got my attention." So he asks, "What are the rules?" and shrugs. He doesn't see why they matter because there aren't any teachers around either. The protagonist grins and says, "Then let's go all out as long as I don't end up sick tomorrow." Right then, he fires up his magic. Theria beams, "I'm thrilled to meet the top student in our class." Reese bursts forward, but a sudden block stops him cold. He figures his punch missed because that kid's got some kind of aqua fortress power. Then bam, an ocean of water tentacles surges straight at the protagonist, who snaps his shield up at the last second and fires off a spell right after. Worried to his core, Darius admits he's never seen anyone slip out of his aqua whip at that close range. The boy lunges at our protagonist again, no hesitation, no mercy. And he leans in and demands to know if he knows Lotto's Ganorak's secret. Reese says nothing. He's locked in, fighting for his life and not letting a single hit land. And later, he finally admits he knows the boy is really a girl, his opponent, and then he thanks him for shielding her the day before. Reese thinks to himself that the kid really is legit and honest, because if he weren't, he could have ended the fight for good. Right when Theria focuses forward, the boy suddenly disappears from right in front of her eyes. Then boom, she pops back up in front of his eyes, right in his face. Still, the young man snaps his shield to life, then blasts our boy flying through the air. After a few wild flips in the air, Reese finally drops down and lands safe on the ground. The blonde kid insists he should have warned him first, then swings again, but our protagonist snaps back, "That was my warning." Theria fires his magic again, blasting out even more raging water tentacles. Our boy starts throwing punches nonstop, and his opponent finally realizes this isn't random, it's a full-on counterattack. Smiling like he's already cracked the code, the protagonist says the young man still has more questions. Then Theria forces herself to stay locked in and fires back, asking how he knows about his fiancée's secret. Reese suddenly remembers the duel with that girl and bursts into laughter. He just kept driving his fists into those tentacles over and over. He pauses, realizes the boy's aqua whip can match his stamina, and then blurts out that everything that happened was just Lotto staring down the brutal consequences of her own choices. Curious, Theria leans in and asks the girl whether she said anything about him. He fired off his deadliest move again. But just when he least expected it, Reese drops down from above. Lada's doesn't look like she's got a single bad feeling toward him, so he snaps back and asks straight up if she's got a problem accepting him as her marriage partner. Once again, the plot hurls our protagonist into the chaos, and he scrambles like his life depends on it, dodging every brutal hit. He struggles back to his feet, and when he does, he realizes his opponent has no weak spot at all. Theria then snaps that it actually explains why Lotto's doesn't want to marry. Because she spent 10 long years pretending to be her brother. The one who kicked off the marriage talk was her father. He stepped up and spoke first. He called for a secret meeting to hash it out, and that news hit him like a punch, because he never saw it coming. And the wildest twist of all, his family isn't just important. His family is the sword of the nation, while the Nork family is feared as the shield. Which snapped his father's yes on the spot. he couldn't say no to an offer like that. Our protagonist leans in and asks the boy if he's pumped for the wedding. Theria claims there's zero reason to turn down the family's union, and the protagonist fires back that he's not talking in circles, he's saying he wants to accept Lotto's as his wife. Caught off guard, the boy blurts that back then people used to compare him to his older brother and label him as the weaker one. Reese's face twists with confusion as he blurts out, "What are you talking about?" Theria leans in and says that because his power was so weak, kids used to slam him with mockery the second he was little. After a while, he finally got it. This magic wasn't built for him and it just wouldn't fit. So he dove into a search for the perfect magic to match his powers, even as everyone kept begging him to quit playing around. After he won one of the usual water attribute family competitions, people suddenly started calling him a prodigy. And that hit him hard. Now he had to wrestle with what he should do with that power. Even so, he still craved the one thing he wanted more than anything, the heirship to his family. His brother, 4 years older, was already getting hailed as the near-perfect pick, thanks to raw talent and effortless skill. Even if he'd somehow still beat him years down the road. It felt like nobody even wanted him around. So he slammed the brakes on school and threw himself into the army instead. Proved to everyone that his goal is within reach. Wasn't about clashing for who gets the heir spot in the family. Reese realizes, right in the middle of his thoughts, that even back then Theria would still be labeled less than just because her powers don't match what a soldier is supposed to have, and he keeps the story rolling. The boy says that the marriage proposal felt like divine salvation because it carved out a whole new road for him, and even if he has to make Lotto suffer, he'll still become the next head of the Nork family. And the second Reese hears it, nothing about him feels happy. Unbothered, Theria straight up says that thanks to the girl's father, he was finally able to get into that school and sharpen his skills. And man, he felt truly relieved to run into the protagonist there, because that fight had forged him and pushed his training way past the limit. Staring straight into the boy's soul, our protagonist declares that he's cracked the way to smash his water fortress. Then he slams into him with everything he's got. Just like that, fear hits you. Reese claims his water fortress can't be uprooted once it's formed, and the Aqua Whip only snaps with a limited reach. So yeah, this is the answer, a long-range hit aimed dead at one target. That's exactly what Muriel pulled out on him in their last fight.